Hello and happy Friday and happy April. It is the beginning of another month and happy April. It is the beginning of another month, and that means it's time for another episode of Achievement Chasers, where
And
Dude
for
and
once,
I.
it's not. And for once, it's not right before a town hall.
Oh, yeah. It seems like that the timing always ends up where finish up and we go right into Melee Town Hall. But it is time for Dude and I to talk about our achievement hunting adventures over the month of March. So we were talking briefly backstage, and Dude has probably a bit more to talk about than I do, so I think I will let him start. But before we do, we already got Static in the check. What's up, Static? Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're all doing well. Because I did not get to stream with you on Monday, so hope everything is going good. But yeah,
A couple of these are kind of quick hits since some of them are GBA games.
okay. So go ahead and you go ahead and start us off, and let us know what you were doing for March.
Well, after Dynasty Warriors 3 took me 3 months to complete, I kind of wanted to do some quick hits out of the way. So I went ahead and went with SpongeBob Super Sponge for the GBA. I don't know.
SpongeBob.
Yeah. But it's pretty much your basic 2D platformer as SpongeBob. The whole premise of this game is that apparently Patrick is having a birthday party, and SpongeBob wants to get a signed autograph from Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Barnacle Boy sends SpongeBob on a bunch of errands to go get stuff for him before they'll sign it.
So,
and each section of the game is you going to go get one thing for him. Eventually, they're like, okay, fine, we'll autograph it, give you an autograph.
fetch quest the game.
Well, it's just a 2D platformer. You pretty much
Okay.
beat a boss, and you get the item that you needed.
Gotcha. Okay, I know almost nothing about SpongeBob. Everything I know about SpongeBob is from SpongeBob memes. I've never actually seen it.
Gotcha. You know, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy are the superheroes that they idolize, right?
I do now.
They're kind of like they kind of play out like Adam West and Adam West, Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and
but they're older.
We all know Adam West is Batman, but does anyone know who it was that played Robin back then?
Burt Ward or something like that.
Because I do not know, but I know the name of Adam West.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm assuming that was a full completion.
It was a full completion. It was actually a very simple completion because there wasn't really much you could do with it. Because the way the mechanics work, it's kind of it's a SpongeBob game that they didn't put too much time and effort into. So
intended for kids, I assume.
Let's just say that those boss battles were not intended to be beaten without getting hit. The mechanics are not there.
Oh, were there achievements for that?
There were just achievements for beating the game and seeing. I think that all the achievements were just plain beating the game, grabbing a bunch of the coins pretty much. You could reselect the levels after you beat them. So I just replayed a level over and over again after I beat the game and got all of those. And then one of them was seeing all of SpongeBob's idle animations.
Okay.
And so you could cheese that one by using the fast forward function.
So you just stand there and hold fast forward?
Yeah. Because fast forward is not turned off in hardcore mode because 99% of the time it's just used to get rid of wait times.
Okay. So,
although there is an argument on retro achievements whether or not they should remove it or not. Yeah, some people think it's a cheat. Others there's certain games that it would actually make the game harder.
I know we've talked about it before. I just don't know if that was backstage or on stream, but I could see why you would make the argument that it shouldn't be allowed, but I disagree with that. I think I know I talked to you about this off stream before, but I think save states should be allowed in hardcore, but not like there should be like checkpoints where here you can create a save state, but not like that's because
I have made the suggestion. I have made the suggestion where for certain challenges like beating a boss without getting hit,
exactly.
They'd actually give save states that would actually be allowed to be loaded directly.
Exactly.
Instead of allowing the player to create their own save states. And then those save states would mainly just be like to right before the boss battle. And it'd be kind of like how Rare Replay does the snapshots.
Okay. I've not played Rare Replay, but Yeah, exactly. Because so far the only thing I've played on retro achievements is Mega Man X 1, 2, and 3, and they all have achievements for beating each boss without taking damage. And it would be really nice if you just had a checkpoint before the boss room, not in the middle of the boss fight to cheese it, but at the beginning of the boss fight, so I can just quickly reload and start the fight over again rather than having to run out my lives. Then, if I run out of lives, I have to go through the entire level again to get back to the boss to try
Well, you
again.
don't run out your lives; you have to run out your health.
Well, yeah. Yes, run out of your health in order to restart the fight, and then if you run out of lives, then you have to play the whole level over again.
Yeah,
So
I mean, there are certain other games like A Link to the Past where it's a bit easier because once you get hit, you can just use after you do the first 2 dungeons, you can use the mirror to go back to the beginning of the dungeon and go back through the dungeon to the boss.
oh, okay.
And it's actually not too difficult to go through the dungeon again to get back to the boss because usually there's a pretty quick way to get there.
Yeah, and you've already cleared everything, so it's not like you have to fight your way back, right?
Well, you still have to fight things, but you don't have to do all the puzzles again.
Okay, because the enemies respawn, but not the
Yeah.
puzzles. Gotcha. That makes sense. But
The
yes,
worst one was definitely the last the last dungeon boss in A Link to the Past because that one kind of wanted you to use magic, so
okay.
you kind of want the green potion.
Yeah, I played Link to the Past once, probably 15 or more years ago. So I don't remember a lot of it, but I am definitely going to be doing retro achievements for it at some point because I know a lot of people consider it their favorite.
Just as heads up, recently they did make some changes to the GBA version where they want you to use a save that they provide because it actually has a save that actually has gone through the Four Swords section, so you can unlock the single player dungeon that's added to the game.
Okay, I was just planning on playing the SNES version. I didn't even know there was a GBA version.
Yep, there was a GBA version, and it had Four Swords attached to it. But since it's kind of hard to do the multiplayer stuff on an emulator, they kind of just said, okay, here's a save for with a completed portion of that.
Okay,
So you can get into that dungeon.
well,
It's like the only thing they really added into the game was that extra dungeon. I've never actually played it.
Okay, well, before I get into playing that, I will talk to you about which one I'm going to play. But yeah, it's been a long time. I played it once. I was not a huge fan of it, which is why it didn't even make my top 5 when we did top 5 Zeldas. But I know a lot of people love that one as their favorite, so I definitely need to play it again. But
hey, it was only my 3rd.
What's up, Melee K? Yes, it's a long time. It's been the first time in ages being able to catch this live because you guys are usually, as Dude said right as we started, you guys are usually prepping for Town Square right before while we're doing this. So makes sense on why you don't usually get to catch this live. But yeah, you've been making people upset on Twitter, but Static says that things are going better. Thank you. So excellent. Good to hear that. So, okay. Well,
there's a reason why I don't use Twitter. I barely even have an account.
Yeah, I was like, I know you have an account, but I don't think you actually use it.
No, I think I only use it so that Twitter doesn't bug me. They're saying, please create an account so you can see it, continue viewing everything. That's all the reason I use it.
Yeah, I used to use Facebook when it was, the big thing, and I don't think I've touched it. The only thing I've logged into Facebook for in like the last 12 plus years is occasionally I'll go on Marketplace and I'll buy something secondhand because it's cheaper than buying it new. But yeah, other than that, I haven't gone on Facebook for anything. So I'm the same way with Facebook, but I am on Twitter often. Heck, I even have 2 accounts. One for my channel and one for everything else.
Gotcha.
But okay. So I know you said you have a few quick things to go over. Did you want to go over another one, or did you want me?
Yeah, I could go over the next one that I did after SpongeBob, because I did when I went to Super Mario Advance.
Super Mario Advance, okay,
which is Super Mario Brothers 2 on the GBA.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know because I haven't played a lot of Mario games, but I learned in the Mario Roulette that a bunch of the Mario Advance games were just advanced versions.
All of the original Mario. Ones. There were no original 2D Mario games on the GBA.
Yeah, they were all remakes of the original ones, right?
This is the first one, which is based on the second one, and they did They took a lot of the Super Nintendo upgrades, like from the All Stars version, but they also added a third mushroom to every level. and they added 5 red coins to every level, free to find.
Okay.
And whenever
And
you find all 5 red coins, the title screen turns instead of being a blue sky, it turns into a red sky when you
and
find all of them.
so how were the achievements on that one? Was it
Pretty much they weren't too bad because they were mostly just beat the game, get all the red coins, and then there was another challenge called the Yoshi Egg Challenge, and you know how you get mushrooms in that game, right?
so this one, which Mario is this? You said it's
Mario
Mario
2.
2?
Yes.
It's been so long since I've played Mario's 1, 2, or 3. I'm not sure I remember which one is which. Is 2 the one where you can pick your character, like Peach
Yes.
floats and Luigi jumps higher?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So
So the mushrooms that you're talking about.
there you have to find the jar to go into the subworld or the mirror world, pretty much.
Okay.
And then if you're in the right spot, it'll actually have a mushroom there. There was an achievement for finding all 3 of them in each level. But and also there was a challenge that they added also where 2 of the mushrooms get replaced with Yoshi eggs, and if you die while after you grab a Yoshi egg, you have to go back and get it.
And so you have
And
to make it
you have
to
to
the
beat
end of the
you have to
level.
beat the level with both Yoshi eggs
Okay.
and then and thing is though you only have to beat that level. You don't have to beat like the world or the game.
And so every level has one of those two, or
Every level had it. Yeah, and it's a
has
challenge mode.
okay. So was that the hardest part?
No, because they actually had they did have an achievement for completing the entire game without dying and no warping, but I think I eventually got it with Peach, which wasn't too hard.
Oh, because you just like float past a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because yeah, that's how I did it. And of course there was a complete the game without dying, which you could do with the warps. And then
Complete the game
of course
without
beat it,
dying.
and then of course they also had had an achievement for beating the game entirely with only one character
So I
each.
bet you could probably stack that one with the no deaths.
Yeah, you do that with Peach and the no deaths, and then you can do Mario, Toad, and Luigi on your own.
Okay.
And that was even allowed continues, so they're not too bad.
Okay.
And since it's based on an NES game, those can be pretty short.
Yeah.
And you can
That
also
is.
do the warping after you've done the no dying with no warping.
Oh, okay. So those are 2 separate achievements.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then there's the then they also had achievements based on the Mario Brothers game. You know the one with just the 2 pipes and all the enemies come out and you got to bump them from underneath.
Oh yeah, like the is kind of like a battle mode.
Or it's like the arcade game.
Yeah.
They had an achievement for getting to level
It
99
has
on that.
the POW in the middle, right?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
had an achievement for getting to level 99 in that.
I didn't know there were levels on that.
Well, each level you kill enough enemies and you go to the next level.
Okay.
There's a set amount of enemies and stuff that can, and it actually it starts repeating pretty quickly.
I'm
Like around
assuming
level
that gets
6
crazy hectic.
it can, but if you eventually get to a point where you recognize the patterns pretty easily.
Okay.
Some of them you can complete in like a minute, and then if you collect every coin in the bonus rooms, you get an extra life always. So
Okay. And so getting to level 9, I'm misunderstanding how this works, but I'm assuming like you start at level 1. If you die at level 20, you have to start over at level 1. Is that right?
No.
Or okay.
You
So it's
restart
not
at that level.
okay. That's not as bad as I thought it was.
No. It's just a typical arcade game.
Gotcha.
It's like getting to level 99 in Galaga, but easier.
I think I've played like Galaga for like 10 minutes. Not much.
To be perfectly honest, they probably should have stopped it at 50 because if you can get to 50, you usually can get to 99 in that arcade game because it's already repeating by the time it's gotten to 25.
Okay. Yeah, just to get rid of the busy work. It's like it doesn't get any more difficult. So if you can get to this point, what's the point of continuing it on longer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even 100 people have gotten that one though on hardcore though.
Oh.
But more people have gotten it than have gotten the complete the game without dying or warping.
Huh. Yeah. That's just chump change for Dude because he's so good. So cool. So you were able to get that completion as well?
Yep, pretty early on in the month.
Nice.
Actually, it doesn't seem like it was that early. It's like the 15th or 16th.
Oh, yeah, I was already halfway through the month.
Then again, we're talking about since the last time we talked, so that was like the second, like the 9th we talked.
Yeah, I think our last one was like, already like a week and a half into the month. But hello, Nadia. Good to see you. Good evening and happy Friday or good afternoon since we're in the same, I think, we're the same time zone. So it's only about 5 o'clock almost 5 o'clock for you as well. But oh my goodness. Whoa, that is really loud.
What's loud?
You got some background noise. I don't know. Is it like your washer or dryer or your heater?
That usually doesn't come up.
That was, I mean, it died down, but my goodness, that was really
That's actually
loud.
That's actually my air conditioning.
The AC, okay. Yeah, it got really loud for a second.
Usually it doesn't get picked up, so let me check something.
But yeah, in the
The voice
country
suppression is on.
Canada, Facebook is pointless because you can't even share news because it's Canada. So
that's the first time I think that's the first time that AC's gotten picked up by the mic.
Yeah, it's never. I might have heard it once or twice before, like quietly, but that one was really loud. But anyways, all good.
You shouldn't. I'll turn my mic down just a little bit.
Okay.
Just in case it happens again.
So, all right. Well, for me, I don't know if it was the first thing I got, but I think I was talking about it a little bit on last episode. Was Tom, I almost said Tony Hawk's, but Tom Clancy's Hawks, the aerial flight combat game. I wouldn't really call it a sim game. It's more of an arcade flight combat game. I had started it like in 2009. I got all the single player achievements way back when. I had gotten a good chunk of the multiplayer achievements back then, but I put it on the back burner. Actually, the hardest achievement in the game, or the highest ratio, because it has the least amount of people who have earned it, is for getting the rank of General of the Air Force, which is maxing out your rank in the multiplayer mode, which is level 40.
That's usually one that most people don't get. Yeah.
I actually got level 40 way back like 10 plus years ago, but the achievement didn't unlock for me. I was like, all right, I was so upset. I'm like, I'll do this again somewhere down the line. And so I didn't touch it again for probably over a decade. And I saw one of my friends on my friends list was playing it. And I was like, hey, if you need a boosting partner, because there's no way you're going to find people online to play it with now, since it's long dead. So the only way you're going to be able to get the multiplayer achievements is boosting it with someone else. So I was like, hey, if you want a boosting partner, let me know. And you actually have to have 3 people to do it. But he had 2 Xboxes and 2 copies of the game. So the 2 of us were able to boost all the multiplayer.
Sounds like something I'd be able to do.
And so I had gotten all of I think I had like 8 or 9 achievements left in the game when I put it on the back burner, 10 plus years ago. And I got all but one of those achievements in March from boosting with him. The only achievement I had left was getting back to level 40 and getting that General of the Air Force rank. And by the time we finished boosting all of the other achievements, I was already like level 33 or 34. So I was a good chunk of the way there. So early, I'd have to go and double check what the date was. But after we both finished getting all the multiplayer achievements, we had to do like 5 or 6 more matches each, which are 15 minutes each, because that's the longest you can do in the multiplayer mode. So we had like 5 or 6 matches each to get us both to level 40 and get that achievement. So we were both able to finish it off. So there wasn't even that much left in the game. I think we were able to do it in like 2 hours for each of us, and we both finished off getting the level 40. And I got the completion in that Tom Clancy's Hawks, and that is now my longest game on my gamer card from the day I started it to the day I got 100%. It's like my last record was like 4,500 days, and this was like 4,800 days. I'd have to go and double check what the length was, but it was like 15 yeah, about 15 years, almost to the day, I think, because I think I started in March of 2009, if memory serves. But so I got that completion. That basically started off April for me, getting that one last achievement. And so yeah, that was a good way to start the month. And then no achievements, but because of starting my top 5 stream with Jason, and the first one we did was my favorite genre was Metroidvanias, and some of the ones that were mentioned, I'm like, it's been a really long time since I played that. I need to go play it again. So despite having all of the achievements already from 4 or 5, probably about 5 years ago when I played it, maybe longer. I think it was 27. No, I think it came out in 2017, but I don't think I played it until about 2019. So yeah, probably about 5 years ago, I played and got 100% in the Mummy Demastered, and I actually had that on my list of top 5, and so I was like, I need to go back and play that again. So I played through that again. I didn't get 100% of the complete of the collectibles, but I did play through it and complete the game again because like I want to play that game again because it's a good game. So and it's pretty short. I think it took maybe like 6 to 8 hours to play through it again. So I played it probably like 2 hours here, 2 hours there over the course of a week, and ended up beating the game on of that again. So yeah, so that I will toss it back over to you for your next one.
Yeah, for the next one, I ended up this one's the one I did on stream because after I finished up the DMC reboot, I went ahead and started playing Donkey Kong Country 2 again since they added a bunch of achievements to it.
Yeah, because you previously had the completion, and then they added more.
Yeah, because they added achievements to beat the game, get 102% on the game while playing hard mode, which takes off all DK barrels.
That's right. I think you were mentioning.
But luckily you get both Kongs every time you start a level, and every time you leave a bonus room. So.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
So it wasn't too bad, but there was one achievement that couldn't be obtained, in hard mode because it required a DK barrel.
Oh, I remember you mentioning that.
What's sad, it was one of the levels in the second to the last world.
Oh, so you basically have to start the game over again and go through the whole game to get to it. Although, if you're pretty well versed in the game, I don't think it takes terribly long to get through the game, right?
Not too long. I think I got to that point within an hour.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, if you're good at the game, I think you can get through the DKC games within a couple.
What sucks though is if I wanted to try and see if I could have gotten beat the game in under 2 hours, I ended up getting stuck on the level right before it, way too long.
So I'm definitely going to be doing the DKC games via retro achievements at some point as well. Does it have to be like from a fresh save for the time trial achievements, or like if you're doing bad, can you like
saves are allowed? Saves are allowed for them, so you can like get a really good time in the first world and then make the save, and then if you feel like you're taking way too long, just go ahead and reset and start from there again.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so they are nice about that.
Okay, yeah, because there's a game that I'm going to be talking about in my plans for April that has a time trial achievement, which is why I haven't completed it yet. But I'll go more into that later because the way the time trial works is not very forgiving compared to most other time trial achievements.
Yeah, and like some of the achievements in the game are pretty. It seem like difficult at first. Like there's 2 achievements for beating a level without hurting any enemy. But one of them is do it as Dixie, and you can use her twirl to get around enemies easier. And the other one is beating the first Lost World level with Diddy without killing any enemies. And most of the enemies in that level are either the bees or enemies you can just jump around.
Okay.
So it wasn't too bad. But there was also beat the lava level in Lost World with collecting all the bananas in it. That one was kind of annoying. That one seemed like it was going to be annoying, but it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
And then there was also achievements for beating K. Rool by getting hit by all of his gas attacks without getting hit after taking the gas attacks. Because in his first fight, which is the one that Craig finally finished on Monday.
Oh, he finally finished it?
Yep. Well, he still has to do the Lost World and collect all the bonus rooms.
Okay.
But but the achievement for the first fight, you had to get hit by each of his poisons, and each of his poisons is a different thing. The first
Oh,
one
the
just
status effects.
yeah, the first one freezes you in place, but if you press buttons fast enough, you can get out of it before he starts doing any of his other attacks. The second one just makes you really slow, and if you know what you're doing with that, you can actually jump over the cannonballs that he sends out after you've gotten slow. The third one, it reverses your controls.
I was gonna say I do remember that one because I think there was. I want to say there was a level like that in DKC 3
Yeah,
where
the
the
entire level
entire
is that way.
level is backwards.
It makes it easier when it's the entire level, not just one thing, because
Um,
you could expect it. But the achievement for, and of course the poison that's in the Lost World boss is the one where it reverses your controls.
okay.
Thing is,
Yeah.
though, I tried it a few times while I was still having the reverse controls, and I just said F it and went into the settings and changed my D-pad controls.
Oh, to flip the controls again.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean,
I
to be
was gonna.
honest, it's not against the rules to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could probably either do that or I did something similar in. I think it was Guitar Hero 3. There was an achievement for beating the game on like lefty mode.
Hmm.
And so what I did is I played instead of looking at the TV, I turned around and I played it by looking in my mirror.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um,
But
yeah, I
there's a bunch of the small little achievements that were across different levels
okay.
that, like I said, seem hard, but they're easier whenever you actually just whenever you figure it out, or
Yeah.
whenever you do it.
Let's see. Yeah. So as I've said before, I had DKC 3 was the only one I owned. I do have 1 and 2 on the Wii shop. But I bought them just so I could have them. I haven't actually played them. I haven't played one or DKC 1 or 2 since, it was basically new on the SNES. So it's
Gotcha.
been a very long time since I played those games. So I vaguely remember 1 and 2, but I remember 3 pretty well because I played that one a lot.
And I
But
think 3 is the worst one. That
that's what
doesn't mean
most
it's
people
bad.
think. Yeah, it's still a good game, but yeah, most people think
I mean,
3 is the
I put the
worst.
entire trilogy above Mario World, so I know some people will call me a blasphemer.
I'm right there with you. I said it on. I think I said on open mic last night. I will take Donkey Kong over Mario game any day of the week. So that's my platformer from my childhood that
I
I
even
like.
love Donkey Kong 64, so
Yeah,
I have gotten every achievement in that non-retro achievements.
I'm not sure if I'm going to do that one on retro achievements or
The
not.
only hard one is actually the beating K. Rool without getting hit, because you have to do every phase of his fight without getting hit.
Oh yeah, because you go through
But when
fighting
you
him with
finally
all
get it,
5
it feels so
characters.
satisfying, because it is you can feel it's possible throughout the entire fight.
Yeah, because I remember Tiny, you shrink down, you go and like punch his toes or his toenails or
You don't
something.
punch them; you actually hit them with your crossbow.
Okay. I just remember going into his shoe, and then I remember as Chunky, you grow big and you actually like
Punch them.
box him. The other
It's so
3, I don't
satisfying
remember
getting that last hit whenever you going for
that
that no hit challenge.
that big wind up. It's almost like a Falcon punch.
If I was streaming, I probably would have jumped up and actually crashed my setup in front of me.
Yes. Um. Oh, that's a good. Because I had a moment like that not too long ago, where it was driving me nuts when I finally beat it. It was one of those like jump out of your seat, yeah. But I don't remember what it was. I'll have to go back and look through my stuff, and maybe I'll bring it up next month. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing through the DKC games at some point and doing them for achievements because yeah, I love those games. So you were able to recomplete DKC 2?
Yep, got all 88 achievements now.
And how many achievements were added? So you already had how many, and now you have 88. What was that
Well, actually,
difference?
it's 80, but I
Oh,
think I had
80.
around 40. They added a bunch, and
Oh, so it almost
all the
doubled.
the single level achievements and the ones that were based on hard mode were added.
Okay, so it basically doubled the achievement count then.
Yeah, and that's the reason why on Metagamer Score it's worth so many points now.
No, because so many people haven't gone back and recompleted it.
Yeah, there's
That
108,000 under. It's worth 108,000 points over there.
I thought you were gonna say 108,000 people have played it.
No.
I was gonna say, wow, that's a lot.
On Metagamer,
108,000.
people on Metagamer score it's 260, but only 4 people have completed the list.
Yeah, it's kind of like when games come onto Game Pass, like a lot of people try it, and so the TA score jumps up because a lot of people try it, but they don't play the whole game.
Yeah.
Or the worst is there's been a couple times where a game has left Game Pass, and then after it leaves Game Pass, it gets a DLC, and
Oof.
so not a lot of people own the game, so they can't play it. And so the DLC will be worth tons of score. So the biggest, most egregious game that I can think of that did that was last year. It left in February, was Infernax, and literally like within 2 weeks after leaving Game Pass, it got I think it was a free DLC as well. So it was even more insulting. And so that DLC jumped the TA score of that game up like a huge chunk because it's not a hard DLC. It's just no one has access to the game anymore. So the score is worth a ton. So
because of the revision, though, it's like the Donkey Kong Country 2 has a really high ratio because of that.
Yeah, revision. It sounds like it's got a decent difficulty curve to it as well. But
yeah,
for mere mortals who aren't Dude.
What's funny is actually one of the hardest achievements is actually the getting 102% in the game on hard.
On hard. Oh, so what's the? Oh yeah, you already told because the DK barrels and stuff.
Yeah, it's not nearly that bad. It's not as bad as people would think it would be.
Yeah. All right. Kay's got to head out. Well, see you later, Kay. Thanks for hanging out with us for the first part. Yeah, that's right.
And she's not even going to be here for whenever I start ball busting DMC5.
She'll have to catch it on the replay. We got to get looking for ball busters. Have fun on ball busters. Have a good rest of your stream, lads. Well, thank you, and you have a fun time on ball busters. So okay. All right. So for my next thing was I think I went into it a little bit last month because I think I started it right at the end of the month because it was announced as leaving Game Pass. So I panic played it. No, you know what? I didn't start it until March because when I was looking at it before stream, it says I had 100% completion in March. I'm thinking about the month before in February. I was thinking, did I start it in February? No, I started it in March. But since we had this stream so late into the month, I may have actually talked about it on last month's. But the game that was leaving Game Pass on March 15th was Shredders. So I was panic playing that. It was only like a 8 to 10 hour completion estimate. I think I took a little bit longer than that.
Talking about Shredder's Revenge?
No, it's just called Shredders. It's not a fighting game. It is a snowboarding game, shredding the powder. So before I get into that, what's up, JT? Good to see you, buddy. How's it going? Yeah, I am. I don't do much snowboarding now, but I used to do a lot of snowboarding in high school and college. That was like my favorite thing to do. And I knew that it was likely that it was going to be leaving soon because I think it had already been on Game Pass it was coming up on 2 years. So I was unsurprised to see that, hey, this game is leaving in 2 weeks. And since it has a short completion, it wasn't one where, I need to start this now in order to have enough time to complete it. But by the time it leaves, it's one of those games where I can leave it because it's short enough that once it's announced, I can easily get it done in the 2 weeks that you have. So I started that and completed it. And the game itself was okay. My biggest issue with it was the controls. I was not a fan of the control. I think, you know what? I think I went into a good amount of detail last month on my issues with it because basically you have to do everything with the right stick, and sometimes it asks you to do way too much. And
it's like Skate.
Yeah, it's like Skate or Fight Night Round 3. We have to do everything with the right stick and not with the buttons like you do in Tony Hawk, where in Tony Hawk you have Y is your grind tricks, X is your grab tricks, and B is your X is your flip tricks, and B is your grab tricks, and A is ollie.
From what I heard from my brother who did skate for a while, he said it actually felt intuitive with on Skate.
Yeah, I haven't played Skate, so I don't know, but there were some times where you have to it's asking you to do a 1260 backflip with this grab, and you have to do. It's almost like a fighting game with how many times you have to move your joystick within like a fraction of a second to be able to turn enough and do all these tricks all at the same time. So that was really annoying.
The frame perfection was crazy.
Yeah. Fortunately, there was a lot of leeway in that if some of these ones were really difficult, you could go get, you didn't have to do like perfect in everything. Like let's say, because you can get like 1, 2, or 3 stars in each of these events. And usually it's like to get 1 star is just like complete the event. Another star is, meet this criteria. And then to get all 3 stars, you have to do like this higher criteria. So a lot of them, it's pretty easy to get all 3 stars, but some of them, it was like really difficult to get 3 stars in them. But fortunately, you don't have to get 3 stars in everything. It was like, you have to get like this amount of stars total across the whole game. And there's a lot of other events you could do in order to fulfill that. So if one was being too difficult, you could go get your stars in another event.
Gotcha.
And I think that they added more events to the base game afterwards, so it made it a little bit easier. The only thing that made that a little bit more of a hassle is that one of the achievements is for it was for like so there's basically like Tony Hawk, there's like specific gaps you have to clear. And one of the achievements was for like, I think in the achievement description, it wasn't in the achievement description, but it says like clear like 75% of the gaps in the game. It was people in the achievement guides were saying that you need to complete this many in order to get the achievement. But that was like a year ago or so when the game was added to Game Pass, and it hadn't been updated. The guides hadn't been updated because more stuff was added to the game after that. So originally 75% was say like it was like 35 gaps, and then all these guides were saying that you have to do 40 gaps now because they added more. But in reality, it didn't unlock for me until I had to get like 48 gaps because they had added even more. So it wasn't difficult. Just I had to go and there were not video guides for all of the rest of the ones that were added after the fact. So I had to go and find them myself. So
that sounds fun.
So I did have, fortunately, I was able to follow a guide and get like 90% of them. So the other like 5% that I needed, I just had to. And one thing is, you don't actually have to snowboard around. I mean, you can, but you can actually go into like this drone mode by, I think it was like clicking both joysticks, and then you can fly the drone around like the entire game. And you can find what you're looking for, and then you can like hit X or something, and it'll teleport you to where your drone was. So you don't actually even have to snowboard around to find them. I just had to fly my drone around in order to find those last few gaps I was missing.
Gotcha.
But
so it's not like Tony Hawk where you need to find all of the gaps.
Right. And they're marked too. They got flags that say gap on them, and they're white if you haven't done them, and based on how many points you score by the trick you do over that gap, the flag will be a different color, like green, black, or red. I don't remember what level is what, but as long as you clear the gap and do like at least score a point with a trick. But it's like Tony Hawk when it comes to scoring, where your scores will be like the longer you hold it, the more points you'll get. So you'll get like 5,000 for this grab, and then if you do spins and flips, it'll multiply it. So it didn't really matter what score you got as long as you cleared the gap. It'll mark it as
Makes sense.
You cleared this gap. So that was easy. I just had to go and find the last few of them in order to get the completion. So, JT is saying, hey man, just want to say thanks for all the support throughout the years. Hit 1,000 subs today. Dude, that is awesome. I'm so happy and proud of you, dude. Keep up the good work. That is awesome.
I didn't do that.
I'm so happy for you. No, the royal dude.
But I am the royal dude.
Not specific dude. But JT, that is awesome. Congrats, dude.
I am the king of dudes.
You are. JT, I hope you're going to do 1,000 sub celebration stream. That is awesome and so good to hear. So, but yeah, that was Shredders, and that was already like a month ago. I completed it almost. So, I'm already forgetting a bunch about it, but overall, I had fun. It's just the controls were not great.
Gotcha.
So, what do you got next?
I got another GBA game. Lego Star Wars, the original trilogy.
Oh, that's the one Lego game I played, but I played it on the Xbox, not the GBA.
The GBA is an isometric game, but it has none of the stud multipliers.
Oh, because I do remember that in order to get 100%, you had to get like some crazy 100 billion studs or something. But it becomes trivial when you get multipliers that are in the hundreds or whatever.
But this game had no stud multipliers, and you had to buy. And the achievement, and they did make the achievement where you had to buy everything from the store. And
how much does that cost?
It was way too long because I was finished with the entire game in like 3 hours. By the way, the game took about 10.
So one achievement you're grinding.
It was 7 hours of me just grinding for studs at that point.
Yeah, I hate that sort
but
of stuff.
It's your typical Lego game on the Game Boy. It's just isometric view.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just pulled it up here. I played it in April of 2007. So
I think I played the 360 version as well. So.
Oh yeah, it was the 360 version. That's the one I was thinking of.
Because achievements.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense that it was a 360 version. I was thinking that it was Xbox One, but given how long ago this game came out, it definitely was a 360 game.
There's quite a few Lego games on the 360.
Yeah, I was thinking that stud achievement was going to be the highest, would be my last one, but I'm looking through it and I don't even see where that achievement was. It looks like all of my last achievements are for beating each of the levels without dying.
You just put on invincibility and don't fall in a hole.
That
was all you really had to do.
Okay. I don't remember using an invincibility cheat but you know, given this was what, 2007, so that was like 10, 3, 4. That was like 17 years ago. I vaguely remember playing the game, and I do remember one level.
To be honest, I vaguely remember playing any of the Lego games because they all just kind of blend together.
Yeah, and wow.
Not that that's a bad thing, but it's just like if you play them back to back to back.
April 2007. Yeah, because that would be 3 plus 10 plus 4. That seems like it doesn't seem like it 17 years ago I should have been able to play something with achievements because you know achievements were basically invented with Xbox 360, but that came out in 2005, which is already almost 20 years ago. My goodness.
Yeah, my last achievement was the beat the game without or 100% the game.
I do. Oh, that was like right in the middle for me because I beat 100% and then I went back and got all the without dying achievements. But I do remember getting frustrated. I think it was on the final level of the Death Star. I do remember having to play that one a bunch of times because I don't think I remember they're using the
invincibility cheat.
I'm not sure I knew about it. But so
well, even if you didn't actually put the code in, I think you could still buy it from the extra section.
Okay. Yeah, looking through the achievement, at least on 360, doesn't look like there's an achievement for buying everything, but I think completing 100% of the game includes buying everything. From the store.
And I think that game was one of those ones where they didn't really think about it whenever they were making the currency for the studs. So you had to grind it out a little too much.
Yeah. But yeah, V, it sounds like the GBA version was much worse. Although if it
just as bad.
10 hours in total, Probably overall shorter because the 360 one, the estimated completion time is 25 to 30
Yeah,
hours.
but it was like 6 or 7 hours of just straight grinding.
But yeah, I don't remember having to grind specifically for that amount of time. I think by the time I finished everything else, I had to do a little bit of grinding, but I don't think it was a whole lot.
Yeah, it was just me playing the last level over and over again because it was the fastest way to do it.
Okay. So able to knock out that completion as
Because
well.
the only thing you have to fight in that last level in the GBA game is fight Darth Vader halfway to halfway health, and then fight the Emperor. And if you have invincibility, it's just you just pressing the B button over and over again.
Just standing there and wailing on him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I got 2 more things to talk about. How many more do you have?
Well, 3 with games I completed, 1 that I'm still working on, and then 1 that I just started.
Okay. Then
I can do the next 3 pretty quickly because they're all the same franchise.
Okay, yeah, go for
it.
But
But JT, if you're a trophy hunter with that Uncharted 3, just to let you know that has online trophies. I don't know if that game still has the online available.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't care.
But I'll go ahead and talk about the first game of the series I played. I did play the first game a while ago, but I played all the rest of the games in this franchise on the GBA, and that was Spyro.
Okay, you brought up Spyro last month.
Season of Ice was last month. So I went and played Season of the Flame, and there was an achievement that kind of made you have to go back through the entire game again, because the achievement was beat the game without getting back your fire. So I had to look it up to see when you got the fire, and you had to beat a specific enemy in a specific level to get the fire back. So it wasn't actually too difficult to ignore it, but there was a lot of stuff you couldn't do throughout the game because you didn't have your fire breath. You just had ice breath. But it's still an isometric view game,
as most GBA games were.
Yeah,
that weren't platformers.
But they did a much better job with the blind jumps than they did in the previous game. I didn't die nearly as often for those.
Okay.
I mainly died because I was just being too
aggressive
and impatient.
Yeah.
So, but it was a fun. Besides that, not having the flame throughout the game and having to go back through the levels again, it was actually a fun game. But
and the Season of Ice and Flame, were those are just original Spyro Game Boy Advance games, right? Or were they a Game Boy version of a port?
They were originals.
Okay.
And they were based on the original game.
The PlayStation one?
Yeah, the original PlayStation continuity.
Okay.
Because you had the original continuity, then you had the Legend series, and then you had the Skylander series.
Okay.
And this was based on the PS1 version. Gotcha. So you had a lot of the characters from there. I mean, Ripto was the boss for this one. There was one other missable achievement, but that one wasn't too bad if you knew where it was, because you could actually reset it if you messed up.
Okay.
But it was just the achievement list is basically just collect all the gems and stuff. There was like a mini game though that they put in that you had to get to level 50 in. It took me a couple of tries, but it wasn't as bad as getting level 99 in the Super Mario Advance. It was like a twin stick shooter on the GBA. Instead of using the second stick, you just used the L and R buttons to turn sparks around.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, when you only have a D-pad, how does that work?
Yeah, so you just use the L and R buttons to rotate yourself.
And in that mode, was it a top-down or was it still isometric?
Top-down.
Okay.
And you're just shooting at bugs. It took me a little bit to get it, but it was fun. And I think they also had checkers in it that you had to do like 3 achievements in. But it wasn't too bad because one of the achievements is kinging your one of your pieces, and the other one is win by capturing all pieces. And then the third achievement was have a game end by having someone not being able to move.
I have not played checkers since I was probably
let's just say
less than 10.
Let's just say if if none of your pieces can move, you lose. So if you have a point where you have only one piece and it's your turn, and that piece can only move in one direction, and that direction is completely blocked, you're done. So stuff like that.
Okay.
And from what I remember, you could just put it on fast forward with Turbo A, and eventually it'll happen. So you don't have to actually think about it to force it to happen.
Gotcha.
So that's it for Spyro 2. The next one is actually technically the third game in this, because it was it's a similar idea with it being an isometric, but this idea might actually interest you. Is Spyro Attack of the Rhinox in America? I think it's like Spyro Adventure in other regions, but this one actually kind of plays out like a Metroidvania.
Really?
Yeah. Whenever you get to a specific area, you unlock a new ability, and you use that ability in the overworld to unlock new areas.
Okay. So
So it's like
Metroidvania-like elements.
it's like a kid's first Metroidvania, but it was actually kind of fun, and the achievements were actually pretty much just complete finding everything for the most part, because they also have quests for you to complete, which actually gives you certain things like the whole idea is that a portal opens up because of the professor, and you have to collect the hearts of each world to close the portal. And to get the heart from each world, you have to give an NPC a bunch of the items that are lost around the entire game.
Okay.
Like for the kangaroos, their museum has lost all of their artifacts. So you have to go around. You have to go find their artifacts, stuff like that. But yeah, it was a nice, fun little game, and it's still an isometric view, but it did learn the lesson of that first one and didn't make it so you made a lot of blind jumps.
Nice.
So
Hey, what's up, Paul? How's it going? Good to see you.
yeah, there was that. So that's pretty much it for the isometric games. Now for the game that's kind of infamous for how bad it is. And I kind of just played it because it was a Spyro game on the GBA. And that's Spyro Orange.
I don't not well, not that I follow the Spyro franchise, but I've not heard of that one. But I
This
hadn't
one
heard
is
of.
considered one of the worst games because all it is a 2D platformer, but the entire point is to go to portals, like put your mini games, and those mini games are like just like Galaga clones. Did you hear that again?
Yeah, but it was pretty quiet.
Gotcha. I think it's because I lowered my gain. But
Because from what I've gathered, because the first time I played Spyro was the Reignited trilogy,
yeah,
so I didn't play Spyro until probably like 3 or 4 years ago. But I've heard about Spyro, here and there
yeah.
from different videos because
Spyro
it's a
Orange
big
the
franchise.
gimmick for Spyro Orange is that it has a counterpart called Crash Purple. I think you know where that's
Okay,
going.
yeah, because Spyro and Crash were like the big
Yeah.
PlayStation
So it was the
mascots
first
for a
time that they
long
actually
time.
got together and actually played and actually had a game together. And it did it kind of like a Pokemon thing where they had their own games, but they're actually way more unique than each other. And people actually agree that the Crash version is better
Okay,
because the mini games are actually better designed, and so are the 2D sections.
gotcha. But yeah, where I was going with that is that from what I've gathered is that there was a Spyro game that was really bad. I don't know what platform it was on. I'm pretty sure it wasn't GBA, but they like redesigned Spyro to be more like edgy.
I think you're talking about the Legend of Spyro series, and there was 3 games in that series.
Maybe I'd have to see Spyro from that one to know for sure.
By the way, the Legend of Spyro series is actually supported on PS2 on Retro Achievements. And I finally did play the first one because during that event period.
Oh, okay.
It was okay, but it's like it's not a collectathon. It's actually like a beat 'em up, a 3D beat 'em up.
Huh. Okay, so yeah, I've got it pulled up here, and this wasn't what I was thinking, but maybe it's just because I don't know much about Spyro, and that very well could be
But this
it.
is the one that they had Elijah Wood actually voice
Voice Spyro.
Spyro.
Huh, I did not know that Elijah Wood voiced Spyro.
I think David Spade voiced Sparks.
Okay. So, Spyro. It was just called Spyro Orange.
Yep, Spyro Orange, the Cortex conspiracy.
Okay.
So pretty
So
much, yeah.
and then
It had Cortex and Ripto teaming up to try and get rid of both Crash and Spyro.
so it sounds kind of like what they were planning because they were where they did like the Street Fighter cross Tekken, and then they were going to do a Tekken cross Street Fighter, but it never happened.
Yeah.
But this one, it sounds like they actually did on both the Crash and the Spyro side of things.
Yeah, but both of them, each game was just a 2D platformer with as the overworld, and then the whole point of the whole point was to go into mini games and complete each of those mini games 3 times to get everything from them, because there's like trading cards you can trade between the players or between the games.
So did that seem kind of monotonous doing the same thing 3 times for each mini game, or
pretty much, yeah? Because the only thing that did change for some of them, the only thing that changed was some of the enemies were given more hits to take, and it was like it's like a Galaga, but instead of you actually having to just kill all the enemies on screen, you had to get through a gauntlet of enemies and walls.
Okay.
Of course, if you did it just wrong, you would actually get into a dead end and you have to restart the entire level over again. Luckily, there was no live system, so just retry it over and over again. The hardest achievement actually was in one of the bonus mini games, which you had to complete it by collecting 100 gems, but the gems were on randomly spawning platforms that would go across the screen, and use the 2D platforming, which isn't the greatest. And let's just say there was times where I had to take blind jumps because of how big this area was based on the screen.
Yeah, when you're working on a mobile gaming platform, you don't really have a whole lot of screen real estate to work with.
And it also didn't help that it sometimes would be like, okay, I'm on the last platform. When's the next one spawning? And then you have to, because this game, instead of gliding, you just keep tapping A to stay in the air for longer. So you just tapping A, hoping for a platform to spawn that you can actually get to. So it's not just skill, it's luck.
Yeah,
that's the worst.
Exactly what you mean. It's like, okay, come on, I'm about to run out of time here. Let's go.
And then, of course, if you have more than 900 gems, because it caps out at 999, there's an issue with how the game reads it, and you can't complete the mini game if you started with less than 100. If you get 100, or before you get to 100 gems in the mini game, you hit the cap.
Wow!
Luckily,
great job.
Luckily, though, whenever you die in the 2D section, you lose 10 gems, and it was right next to a hole. So I would just run right off the map to get back under 900.
So it's like dying actually helps.
Yeah. It was kind of annoying because that was the one I spent the longest time on. Yes. And a couple other mini games were just terribly designed.
Just fighting with a bad programming in the game.
Bad design.
Yeah, that's the worst. Okay. All right. So yeah, knocked out a bunch of Game Boy Advance games. Cool. So the thing that I spent the majority of the month playing was so I think I mentioned it last month, but was Immortals Phoenix Rising. So I had started it probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had already gotten about 10 or 15 achievements in the game, but they were all spread out because the only time I would play it would be for some sort of achievement event where I needed a specific achievement. So I would, there were frequently achievements in the game qualified for whatever event I was playing. So I'd play it, get an achievement or two because it qualified for this event, and then I wouldn't play it again. And I'd play it 6 months later or whatever, get a couple achievements. So over the course of like 3 or 4-ish years, I'd gotten a good chunk of the starting achievements, but it was almost like starting from scratch each time because it's like I hadn't actually played the game, so I had to remember the controls and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm finally going to sit down. I'm going to play through it in its entirety. So I started it from the beginning, since I had no idea what was going on in the story. Learned the controls again, and so I played through the entirety of the base game. And I was planning on just gonna like beat the final boss and then move on to the next game I'm going to be talking about, because I needed to complete that game before the end of the month for a competition that I was working on. But I was like, that game's short enough, and I've already done a similar thing where I'd played the beginning of it. So I only had I didn't have to play through the whole game. But so I decided I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to get 100% of the base game achievements in Immortals before I move on to that other game. So I did. You don't have to do everything, because there is a lot of stuff scattered across the map. It's very much like an Assassin's Creed game. I mean, it is a Ubisoft game.
Except in Assassin's Creed, you actually have to do everything.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed this game. I'm not done with it yet. I've completed the base game, but there are 3 DLCs. And so I'm going to finish those up before I really move on to the next game. But I had a lot of fun with it. There's not as much busy work as there is in like most Assassin's Creed games. There is a lot of stuff to do, but it didn't feel pointless. You're constantly getting more gear. As I mentioned last month, the transmog system is great. Any item you get, you can, if you don't like the look of it, you can change it in your settings at any time to look like any other piece of gear that you have. So, or not any other, but anything within that category. So you can make any one of your swords look like one of the other swords and still get because every sword, every bow, every axe, every helmet, every armor has different perks to it. And so you can find the one that you like the perks for it best, but then you can have it look like whichever other piece of armor or sword or whatever you want it to look like. Which I don't think you can do that in the Assassin's Creed games. And, the Assassin's Creed
the newer ones you can.
I haven't played them yet, because the last one I played was Syndicate, which was the last one before.
I'm talking about like Origins, Valhalla, and
yeah. So Syndicate was the last one they did before they rebooted into like this massive sprawling RPG with Origins, which I played a little bit of Origins, but that'll be the next Assassin's Creed game I play. But I don't know when I'm going to be getting to playing that one, just because those games have gotten so big. But yeah, I love the art style of Immortals. Basically a lot of the stuff scattered around the world that you're playing in is like a lot of puzzles, and then there's some combat challenges, and you can play it on any difficulty you want. There's no difficulty based achievements, so it's got that going for it. I think I played right in the middle on normal, and there were
you gotta play on hard like I did it for God of War Ragnarok.
I felt that was just right. I didn't feel. There were a few times where I got close to dying, but after I got a few health upgrades in the early on, I don't think I ever died, and I didn't feel like I needed to play it, because it's not like one of those games where it's like, oh, you got to play it on hardcore. You're not really playing it. It's not like one of those free. It's basically like I think I said it last month as well, but it's basically Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom on Xbox, because we're never going to get that. It has vaults scattered around the landscape, which are exactly like the shrines from what I've seen from the Breath of the Wild, which are, some of them are puzzle based, some of them are platforming, some of them are combat, some of them are a combination of them. So I had a really fun time playing it. I did. So in order to get 100% of the base game, you do have to do most of the stuff on the map, but you don't have to do 100%. I probably had to do about like 90% of the stuff. And it's all pretty easy to find as well. And the puzzles and stuff are, at least in the base game, I don't remember any that were particularly difficult. I think I only had to look at the solution to like maybe 1 or 2. So they're not terribly difficult either. Some of them are just about executing it properly and not having your block or whatever fall off the cliff and making you have to start over again because you're carrying it and you got hit by an arrow which made you drop it and break it or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that's always annoying.
So I've had a lot of fun with it. Another thing that I've noticed about it is that the music in it is really good. And there's a couple of things that inspired questions for me for my party chat stream. So I don't think I'm going to be having any of those on tomorrow's party chat, but there's a number of things that this game inspired. So I was like, oh, that's a good question. So I'm going to put that on my list of party chat questions for some time in the future. So I've had a lot of fun with it.
Anytime you talk about a video game OST video game OSTs and nobody talks about Dynasty Warriors 4s, I already questioned that stream.
Given that I've never, as you know, I've never played Dynasty Warriors. I'm assuming Dynasty Warriors 4 has a really good OST.
If you're in Melee Games Discord, I did put one of the songs in music.
Okay, I'll have to go check that out.
And that song is just whenever you're selecting your equipment for your character for that battle.
Okay.
It's not even whenever you're actually fighting.
So, yeah, the music has been really great. It's been very reminiscent for me, the music wise, as the Ori games. Really pretty music. And speaking of soundtracks and stuff, the next episode of Top 5 is going to be on the 16th, and we are ranking our top 5 video game soundtracks. So a little mention for that. This one probably isn't going to make my list, but it'll probably be in my honorable mentions because the music has been really good.
If you ever do a part 2 for that, I might be interested.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure that seems to be a very popular topic, so it's very likely that we will do a game soundtrack part 2 at some point. So I will put you.
There might be a theme to mine though.
That list. Let's see here. You know what? Let me write that down so I don't forget. Top part 2, Dude. All right, so I don't forget. Yeah, so yeah, I finished up the base game. There's you have to get, like I said, there's a lot of collectibles for different aesthetic wise. So lots of different skins for things. And so you have to collect all of them, although a lot of them, like I said, have different effects as well. So it's not just for aesthetic wise, but you have to like collect all the different skins for your bird companion that follows you around. Collect all the different mounts that you can ride. There's an achievement for basically each one of all of those. So you do have to do like most of the stuff in the game, but not all of it. You have to max out your stamina and your health, which comes from completing the vaults and finding items strewn across the world. But there's more items than you need to max those out. And one of the nice things about it is I never actually started New Game Plus, but you can go into New Game Plus and carry all of your equipment with you. And one of the cool things is that all of those items that you use to upgrade your stamina and health and whatever, those reset so you can keep collecting them. But once you hit the max, you can keep putting. It's almost like the Borderlands style of you can still keep upgrading your stuff and you get incremental.
Like the badass ranking?
Yeah, like the badass ranking. So you get these small but incremental upgrades across your base stats, essentially. So like you once you max out your stamina and you still keep collecting those items, you can't get any more stamina, but you can increase or decrease your stamina usage. So their first level is your stamina drains 1% slower. Then next time you upgrade, it's 2% slower. So technically, if you kept New Game Plusing over and over, you get enough things so that your stamina doesn't go down at all if you got it all the way up to 100%. That would take a lot of replays, but you could do it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And similarly, like with health, if you keep upgrading your health, you'll take less and less damage. So it's nice how they implemented that.
They might have a cap, but you never know.
There could be a cap. I didn't look into it, but you can keep pouring your items into it to keep getting incrementally better and better as you go, even if you're starting a new game. So it's cool that they added that, replayability in that you're not just starting over from scratch. You get to keep your stuff and keep getting better if you wanted to go into New Game Plus, because one of the achievements for collecting all of a certain item is a lot easier. Oh no, it's for collecting currency because there's like 4 different currencies that you use to upgrade different things, and one of them there is enough to get all in one playthrough, but you have to be very thorough in searching for it. So it's actually easier to start New Game Plus, and then the world is full of that item again in order to hit the max level of that item that the item that upgrades. I ended up getting them all in just one playthrough, so I never started New Game Plus. But it's actually a little bit easier to do that in New Game Plus. But I was like, I'm just going to do everything before I go and fight the final boss. So that was actually my last achievement in the base game. And so, well, since I'm already talking about it, I was playing it this month. But there are 3 DLCs, and I've also so after I beat the base game, I played the next game I'm going to be talking about, and then I came back after I completed that, and I did the first DLC now in April. I'll go more into that next month, but I've completed the first DLC, so I only have 2 more to go.
Sounds like that one was actually much quicker.
Yeah, the first DLC, it says it's like estimated 8 to 10 hours. It took me probably about 15-ish hours. But I talked about that at a decent length on the AH101 podcast on Tuesday night, which was not on my channel. It's on the AH101 podcast. But I'll talk more about that next month. But I did complete the first DLC, and so I'm going to be working on completing that second and third deal. I've started the second DLC, but I haven't gotten any achievements in it yet. And I'm going to work on completing the second and third DLC in order to get the full completion in Immortals for April. So I got one more game to talk about, but I'll let you go on your next one, and then I'll talk about that one after you're done.
This one will be the last one I played last month, and I'm still playing it on stream, and that is Devil May Cry 5.
All right.
Now, as I've been playing it, I've started having more and more issues with it, but first playthrough was fine. But again, that's on easy difficulty. But as I've been playing it more and more, I'm really disliking a boss that they keep on having you fight over and over again, and that's Urizen. I really don't like him in both chair and standing form.
So they use a repeating boss you have to fight multiple times?
Yeah, as different characters and stuff, and then different forms. Because he has the chair form, which is in the prologue, and then you fight him as Nero, which is in the prologue, and then Mission 10, which is before the prologue. I'll get back to Mission 10 in a moment, but that one's a real pain in the ass. I think you saw that in the Discord. But and then you fight him as Nero. The only time you're supposed to beat chair form is whenever you fight him in the third time as Nero, because you're supposed to lose to him in the first two. But of course, I don't know if the way that the rankings work, does it matter how many times you hit him at that to make any points. But I'll get into that a bit more later. But then after he comes out of the chair, he has his standing form, which has way too many moves that are a pain in the ass to dodge because he just sends out tentacles at you slowly, but the way that the tentacles come towards you, it's really hard to judge the distance.
Okay.
Kind of like how a lot of people have issues with Crash Bandicoot.
Yes.
So, and this is a spectacle fighter. You shouldn't be having that issue.
Yeah. It makes sense in Crash because it's a fixed camera essentially. Yeah. So it can be hard to judge distances, but the camera's moving around because it's such a fast-paced game, so that depth perception shouldn't be an issue.
But it is for me in this boss fight. Luckily, when you fight that form as Nero, you don't have to actually beat him. But like I said again, I don't know if attacking him during that phase of the fight will actually positively or negatively affect your ranking. So I always just go for as much as I can to try and get more style points.
Yeah, because I'm assuming like all the other ones, you have to do an S rank for it.
Yeah, and the way this game works is you have to get S rank in every difficulty except for one.
And
that's the heaven and hell mode, where everything dies in one hit.
Right.
It's kind of hard to S rank everything when you just use your gun throughout it.
Yeah.
So they were at least smart enough to do that. But and then you fight you fight him and then lose to him as Nero. Then like I think either the next level or two levels later, you fight that same form again as Dante, and then a couple levels later, you fight the standing form again, but it has different move set, but it still looks so similar. It just doesn't have the tentacles, but it's just as annoying of a fight. But luckily, I've S ranked that each time I played it, so I don't have to refight them. So I really do not like this boss fight. It is a terrible boss fight, and this boss fight alone, because you have to fight it so many times and it's so bad, it's bringing the game down for me completely.
One aspect is really ruining the game for you.
Yeah, and then going to mission 10, this mission is so imbalanced with the S rank that it's a pain in the ass. Even on human, I had a hard time, which was the easy difficulty. Like every other level, I maybe three times at most, but this one I spent an entire stream last night trying to S rank on just Son of Sparta, which is the third difficulty.
Okay, I was gonna say, what difficulty is that, and what exactly about this level is it that's so imbalanced?
Well, before I talk to you about the balance, let me tell you how the S rank is calculated, because in every game before, it just takes it every time you get style points, it increases the points that you have. So you just have to hit a certain point value to get an S rank.
Okay.
On style points, and of course, all the other games, they tend to have other variables, like in the reboot you get a ton of points, and then based on your time you get a multiplier put on those points, and of course you get a multiplier for not continuing or not getting hit.
That makes sense.
But usually you just have to not continue to get a decent score to get to the highest rank. So like the reboot actually has triple S for it, but it's actually better balanced in my opinion, because getting S in that's easy, but the triple S you have to do a bit more, but it's not too bad. And then for Devil May Cry 4, it still has the same system for the style points, but you also have to beat the level quickly, which gives you a separate ranking for the time. But as you go up in difficulty, it increases how much time you have to beat the level. Some of those levels even have like 30 to 40 minutes to beat on the highest difficulty, so it's not too bad. And then also, this was the one that was more annoying in the MC4, but I could take it or leave it. I probably take it before I'd go with the TMC5 system. But you had to break all the breakables that had red orbs in them every time you played the level, and get like 90% of them to get an S rank in that. And some levels you only had to break open one or two things, and other levels you had to break hundreds. And it kind of got annoying whenever you had to replay the level over and over again to get the S rank.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, but I would still take that over what DMC5 does.
Okay.
DMC5, it takes an average of every fight of your style points. Now, here's the thing. Some of these fights are not designed to give you a lot of style points. There's even one fight in Son of Sparta on this mission 10 that's against one of the enemies that just runs around, and you can only counterattack them, really. So you're sitting there getting very little style points in that one fight, and it's always going to bring down your score so much.
Brings down your score because it's based on
it's not
average.
designed. It's not designed properly, and then if you fight enemies that are not mandatory and they don't give you a lot of style points, it's better to skip them. It's a spectacle fighter. Why are you skipping fights?
I'm assuming you've gone and looked at the achievement guides and people are complaining about how bad the score system is.
It's actually, to be honest, most people are just complaining about mission 10.
Just about that one mission?
Yes, because all the other ones, it's actually not too, but it's actually it actually is not too bad because the fights are designed better with the style points. But this one mission is just so badly designed with the style points and not in mind, and the score it's expecting you to get is so damn high that people just tell everyone, just cheese the mission with the item that you use red orbs as currency for the attacks, and just cheese it so you don't get hit. So just get B's in style, barely get to B in style, but then don't get hit so you get the 2 times multiplier.
And is that because of this enemy that you just have to counterattack the whole time?
Well, it's
or is that a different level?
It's just because of how badly the entire level is designed. Because it's just because of the way the style is handled in this game. Because it doesn't even show you how many points you got during a battle. It only tells you what the average is after the battle. So it's like, God damn, it went down that far.
So
So it
you don't
doesn't
even
feel.
know how you're doing during the fight other than your
Yeah,
own feeling of it.
yeah. Because in the way that the style meter works with Dante, it's just not as intuitive because sometimes you're doing the combos the same way you're doing last time, but now your style's not going up. Like even changing weapons and all that, it's still not going up properly. It's really annoying. And it's the Dante has the worst of it because of how the game is designed. The new character V, he's kind of like a pet. He kind of just has three pets, and he kind of just stays back while they attack enemies. He is so easy to get the S ranks in. It's not even funny. But he has no real bosses that he fights. So, and Nero, I actually like most of Nero's S ranking, so he's not too bad. It's mostly Dante that is just a pain in the ass. But
Okay.
again, like I said, you're you're actually encouraged to skip fights in a spectacle fighter.
In
That's
order to
not
get
a
the
good design
story
in
you
my
need.
opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was mentioning sometime recently how there were achievements in Guitar Hero 3 for beating the game on a controller and not the guitar, which completely takes all the fun out of the game. It's like, why are you?
Luckily they only did that once.
Yeah, they did it once, but there were a number of achievements in Guitar Hero 3 that's like play the game in a completely different manner than it was designed to, taking all the fun out of the game. It's like, why would you do that? That's terrible achievement design.
At least it
So,
was only hard, not expert.
yeah. And Insidious Bliss is here. Yo, what's up, Insidious Bliss? Good to see you, buddy.
But
Um,
I will say that the final fight is with spoiler Virgil again, and they actually did a good job with Virgil's fight. So, at the very least, they have that in here. But actually, what's funny is that the last two missions is you fighting Virgil as Dante, then Nero. Both times I fought him as Nero, I beat him without getting hit once.
nice.
But I think he's supposed to be exhausted from from the first fight, so it's supposed to be slightly easier. But still, the fact that I've beaten him twice now already that way. And it was
So
first try both times.
nice. Yeah, you're freaking good at DMC, that's for sure. I mean, you're already in the
I mean,
last game and you've gotten 100% on all the previous ones.
I mean, it does make it much easier, but that I've been playing the series back to back to back almost.
Yeah, you're not rusty coming back to it like way later or something.
Yeah,
So you said you spent basically a whole stream yesterday working on, was it mission
one
10?
level, mission 10 on Son of Sparta. If you're looking it up, you can also look up Dante Must Die mode as well because it's the same enemy types.
So did you complete your objective or are you
Nope, still gotta try again over and over again.
Oh, that sucks. And so then you're gonna have to do it again on the next difficulty at some
Yep,
point, right?
actually next two because the crazy thing about this game is that they're asking you to S rank Hell and Hell mode. That is the mode where if you get hit once, you die,
Yep.
but you get 3 revives before you have to continue.
And you have to S rank that because
Yeah.
you die in one hit, but not
Nope,
everything else
nothing else
does.
does. It acts like this difficulty.
Oh, that's brutal. So yeah, I think we were talking about last month how DMC5 has the highest ratio of all the DMCs, right?
Yeah, at least out of the base games. I think 4 special edition might actually beat it because of some of
Okay.
the achievements that they added into that one.
Like the DLC or title update or something.
Well, it's more like special edition features like new characters and new achievements.
Okay.
Because the DMC4 special edition is actually the upgrade to the Xbox One, which is why DMC4 isn't backwards compatible. Because a lot of those Japanese companies are like, we re-released it. Why are we going to put it backwards compatible?
Yep, that was something that pissed me off. So many of those games
I mean, I
are
understand that sentiment if they've already done it.
yeah, there's so many of them are like, no, we're not going to make it backwards compatible because we're just going to make the exact same game with a slight upres and charge you full price for it again. It's like, I hate you guys.
Actually, to be honest, the DMC reboot is better on the Xbox One from what I heard because it actually fixes the frame rate.
Okay. Yeah, like Skyrim did it. The Xbox
At least
360
Skyrim added
version.
added modding.
Yeah, that I will give them that. But yes, the 360 version of Skyrim is not backwards compatible. Prototype, they re-released Prototype on Xbox One, and the 360 version is not backwards compatible. Both Prototype 1 and 2. That's one of the things where I give big credit to Ubisoft for all of the Assassin's Creed games. All the ones on 360 are backwards compatible, despite most of them having Xbox One versions.
Yeah.
Because Black Flag has a Xbox 360 and an Xbox One version. Rogue has both versions. 3 has both versions.
I kind of wish that all backwards compatible games were forced to keep their servers open, though.
Yeah. So, but yeah, props I'll give to Ubisoft for making all the old 360 ones backwards compatible and having a new version rather than forcing you to up to the new one if you want to play it on modern consoles.
That just means you can also stack it on the same console.
Well, yep, which I've done. I've done every stack of every Assassin's Creed game that's not a mobile phone game.
To be perfectly honest, I have barely done any of the Assassin's Creed games because they all feel the same.
Yep.
So if you play them back to back to back, it's like, okay, it feels like I'm playing the same game.
Yeah, I played.
And also achievement hunting the first game. Those flags.
Yeah. I did that. So Assassin's Creed 1, I think, is the only one I've only played once because that one never got like a remaster or an Xbox One version. All the other ones,
and the PS3. Luckily, the PS3 version doesn't even have trophies, so I don't have to deal with the flags again.
Before trophies were even added on PlayStation.
Assassin's Creed 2 does have trophies though, but like I said, luckily that first one does not have trophies. I'd rather they remake it and give us a way to be able to find which flags are missing in game.
I do remember, despite doing the flags when the game was new, I do remember having to follow a guide and lining up my camera to the pictures that I was, on the website I was following, and missing one. And
you were always missing one
again.
You were always missing one.
Yeah, because there's no way to like ping them or know how, even what region it's in. So yeah, I don't miss that.
Like I said, that one would be better. That one's one of those ones that needs to be remade, not just remastered.
Yeah, a remake. I would go for that because I would like to play it again with some, quality of life improvements. Definitely.
Mainly show me the flags.
Yeah, mainly show me the flags. So okay, so how many achievements are in DMC5 and how many do you have so far?
Let me check. Because there's also there's a couple of DLCs for it as well.
I would assume so.
Let's see. Now I'm looking at apparently 55.
There's 55 total.
Yep, 48 in the base game, and I have 35 of them.
Okay, so you got a good chunk of it done already.
Mostly me completing each of the difficulties and then getting the S ranks. So there's also one for beating 5 enemies in 1 second, but I'm gonna look to try and do that in the Heaven and Hell mode, which is everything dies in one hit.
Here's one thing I just thought of that I haven't asked you, despite you've been talking about DMC for months. The Heaven or Hell mode, is that one you have to unlock as well? Okay.
You have to unlock every difficulty except for the first one.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So you can't. So it's not designed. These games are not designed for you to beat on the hardest difficulty and unlock all the lowers.
Yeah.
Especially whenever it's asking you to S rank every difficulty as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also unlocking all of the character skills.
Okay. So, and it sounds like there's not a whole lot of DLC achievements. Not that doesn't mean they're not very difficult, but it sounds like there's very many.
One of them is a title update for the Bloody Palace, which is the survival mode.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going
to remember that was what took me 10.5 hours for Devil May Cry 2.
Yep, I remember you mentioned that palace is on like every DMC game you've talked about so far.
I didn't have to do it in the reboot because there wasn't achievements tied to it, but I think in the special edition version there is achievements tied to the Bloody Palace.
Oh, so it was in there, it just didn't have any achievements for it.
Yeah, and it was DLC in that game as well.
Oh, that's fortunate.
Yeah, but the title update actually asks you to go through the Bloody Palace with each character. Luckily, you can use the super mode you get from beating the game on Dante Must Die.
Okay.
And then there's achievements based around Virgil as a character because they added him as DLC. That's the only one you had to pay for. He was like $5.
Okay. That's not too bad.
But one of the achievements is beating the Bloody Palaces, Virgil.
Is that like the hardest character?
I don't know because I haven't played as him yet.
Okay. All right.
So I'll continue working on that next month.
So that's what you're gonna continue working on that through April.
Yep. I will tell you the next game I'll play on stream after DMC5, and that will be Donkey Kong Country 3.
All right. Yeah, that's the one I'm most familiar with because that's
Yeah.
the one I actually owned. I remember getting it for Christmas, and I didn't have my Super Nintendo with me, so I had to wait a few days till we got home to actually play it. I read the manual for that thing like back to back, cover to cover, like multiple times before I got home because I was so excited to play that.
There is an achievement for beating that game on the similar difficulty as Donkey Kong Country 2, where you don't have the barrels again.
Okay. I don't even remember that being in the game, but I just made it.
You have to get to the achievement menu, and that takes you. And I think Cranky tells you in after credits.
I do remember doing a cheat menu, but I don't remember what for. Because there was, or maybe it was if you named your save file certain things, it would have certain effects.
Probably, yeah.
Something like that. Oh, you know what? I think there was a cheat menu or a certain thing you would name your save file as, and it would give you 99 lives. So I want to say that was a thing in DKC3, but
I'd have to look into it, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I haven't played it since I was a kid on Super Nintendo, so it's been a very long time. So, okay. Well, cool. And then for me, the last game I was working on. So as I was saying, I was worked on Immortals, and then after I finished the game and beat the final boss, before I moved on to the DLC, I had about a week left in the month, and this game was double dipping because it was I think I mentioned the BCM contest that I partake in, which has been going. I think this is like the 5th or 6th year. I didn't participate in the first year, but I've participated in all the years since. It did go through a bit of a. The guy who's been running it, he's like, all right, it's been a great run, but it's a lot of work. I'm done. So some other people in the community have taken it upon themselves to keep the competition alive in spirit. They've made a lot of changes to it, but in spirit, it's the same thing, where you get a random game assigned to you every month. The rules are different this year, so you don't actually have to complete them in the month that it's assigned like you've had to do so far, but as long as you complete it before the end of the contest, which I think is actually the end of November rather than the end of the year. But anyways, my game of the month, which I haven't completed any of them yet until this one, because I'm like, I'll do those ones later now that I have basically all year to play them. But it also double dipped for me on one of the True Achievements targets for the month, where the targets are like, hey, get, this amount of gamer score in games under this genre, or get, this amount of achievements that meet this criteria. Every month there's 3, and you can join them if you want. And one of them was for getting like 300 gamer score in a game that is in the adventure genre, not action adventure, but just adventure, because there's not a whole lot of them. Most games are action adventure. But the game that I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and play that now, so it'll count for my random game of the month, and it'll count towards that. And that was Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishment. Basically, obviously you're playing as Sherlock. It's a detective game where you're, finding clues and figuring out.
I think that's one of those games that was on 360 and Xbox One.
Yes, there is a 360 version of it. I have the Xbox One version, which I got through Games with Gold years ago.
I think that's the same way I have it.
Yeah, probably. That version is actually no longer available. So if you didn't get it then, you can't get that version. They did, because something about the publisher or rights or some legal stuff. They had
legalese.
Yeah, some of the legalese. It's been republished under like a new publisher or something. So you can still play the exact same game, but it has the exact same achievements, but a different set. So you could stack it if you had it. So
you can stack it 3 times now.
Yeah, you can stack it 3 times with the 360 version, the original Xbox One version, or the republished Xbox One version.
I wonder if that game's on PlayStation as well.
Probably. There were basically the exact same thing because for the sequel, which was called Sherlock Holmes, I think it's like The Devil's Daughter or something, has 3 stacks because of the exact same thing. And I have that one through Games with Gold as well, I'm pretty sure. So I'll be playing that eventually. I don't know when. It'll be somewhere down the line. But the original Xbox One version is the one that was through Games with Gold, and that's the one that I played. And so similar to Immortals, where I had played this game off and on over the 4 or 5 years since I started it, and gotten, because an achievement in it counted for some contest or something. So I play a little bit of it here, a little bit of it there, but I never actually played through it in its entirety. But given that it's even though it has, I wouldn't say more of a story than Immortals, but I didn't want to go. So I'd played when I picked it back up. It's made up of 6 cases that you have to solve, and I was in the middle of case 3, so I was almost halfway through the game already, and I was like, I'd gotten all the achievements in the first 2 cases, so there was really zero incentive to go back and play them. If I wanted to, I could just go and watch a quick playthrough on YouTube to miss any story beats. But I didn't really care about the story that much. I just wanted to get through the game as quickly as possible, especially since I was on a time, a little bit of a time crunch. I needed to get it done before the end of the month. So I just picked it up where I left off, but I had no idea what was going on, what I was doing, what the case was that I was trying to solve. True Achievements did have a guide for it, so I was following the guide, but it was telling me to do these things, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So it took me a little while to figure out like how, because one of the main things is, as you find certain clues, you have to go in, you have to hit Y, and it'll show you like all these clues that you found, but you have to link them together to come to conclusions. And these conclusions, it'll take you to another page and show you all of your conclusions. And some of the conclusions will have, okay, this conclusion, it could be this thing or it could be this thing. And you have to pick which one that you think it is. And once you've picked all the right ones, then lines will be drawn between them, and it'll be like, okay, all of these things that you've deduced come to this final conclusion. And I didn't understand that when I was getting back to the game, since I hadn't played it in years. But once I figured out that, you have to do this first in order to get to this, to link these clues together, like it's saying in the walkthrough, then I'm like, okay. So at that point, I was able to kind of got my feet under me, and I was able to continue playing from where I left off, and get through the rest of the cases. The entire game only has like a 10 to 12 hour completion. Like I said, I was already almost halfway through the game. But I was, it's basically almost like a point and click, but with a little bit of extra work thrown in, because you do have to travel back and forth between different areas. So sometimes you'll go to the murder scene and you'll find clues, and then you have to go to the police station and question the culprits. Then you have to go back and find new, you've got new information, so you have to go back.
Is that the game where that Watson is always following you?
Yes, Watson is always following you. You actually have to use him to solve a few of the puzzles. And then sometimes you'll find something, you'll find a new clue, and then you have to go back to your house, because that's where all your tools are, and you have to do like science experiments to determine whether this bullet has been fired, or whether this plant has this type of, pollen or whatever. And so you have to go back and forth to different areas and solve the murders. And so it's, as you can imagine, it's not a fast-paced game. Nothing's going to proceed without you doing the required
sequence.
In order to progress the story. So it's not a very fast-paced game, and I was often playing it late at night. So the hardest part was just staying awake long enough to play it, because it's not a very action game. It's very slow-paced. But the last couple cases, when I was kind of really getting, the last 2 cases, I was kind of like, okay, I'm starting to like this now that I've kind of got a feel for the game, and I know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm looking for. So I had the guide up, and I kind of try to figure it out myself. And then there were certain things that you had to do very specifically in order to get all the achievements, because you do have to, with, like I was saying, with where you have to connect those like deductions in order to come to a conclusion. But if you change those, you'll come to a different conclusion. And then when you click on it, you have the option to like accept this conclusion, or like back out. So you have to come to each of those conclusions, but you don't take any action on it. until you, because there's an achievement for coming to every conclusion in the game. But
Mhm.
in order to make sure you don't come to the correct conclusion prematurely, you want to make sure that you come to all of the incorrect ones first. So that's like the main reason why you'd want to follow the guide, is to make sure that you got all of those so you don't have to
Yeah.
play any of the cases over again. Fortunately, if you do miss anything, you can just play that case again, because it's got a level select, where case select, where you pick whichever case and you do start that case over again to get any achievements that you might have missed. Which there's one achievement for petting the dog in each case. His name is Toby, and so I didn't pet him in the first case. So
How dare you?
when I pet him in case 6, I didn't get the achievement. So I didn't know which case I didn't get it in. So it's like, I'll just go back to case 1, because that's probably the one I didn't do it in, because I wasn't following the guide as stringently back then. And so,
How dare
and
you not to pet the dog?
he's usually at the very beginning of each case. So I was able to get through the opening cutscene and go pet the dog, and then the final achievement unlocked. But yeah, the hardest thing about the game was, when I was playing late at night, was just staying awake long enough to be able to get through the game. But it was pretty cool, kind of thinking like Sherlock, and like trying to figure out these things, and how the murderer could have gotten away with this. So once I got into it, I enjoyed it, and I was able to get the completion. I think I finished it on the 30th, so a day before the end of the month, and got the completion that I was looking for. And then once I did that, I went right back into Immortals and working on that first DLC. So that was pretty much everything for March. So with that, we will get into what we're looking to work on in April. For you, as we said, I know you're going to keep working on DMC 5.
And hopefully, if I can finish it before the end of the month, so I can start DKC 3
before May.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll be able. I'm going to see if I can try and beat DKC 3 before Craig can.
Okay.
Because I did beat Donkey Kong Country 2 before he could.
Yeah.
Not even giving him extra chances by actually playing another game in between.
I was going to say, if you're not starting it till you beat this game, that definitely gives him a chance to catch up with you, so to speak.
But then again, with how long it took him to beat 2, it's going to take him a while to beat 3.
Yeah, that's all with the crowd making it more difficult with him with their donations.
Now, the one game I'm going to be playing for a while now is going to be similar to one that took me a while last time, and that is Dynasty Warriors 4. I have started this one already, and luckily, this game does not do story mode by character. It does story mode by faction. So it's not. I won't have to play through. And actually, it doesn't even have achievements for beating the faction stories on hard difficulty, like it did in 3. So
this one's gonna be a lot quicker than the.
It's gonna be a little bit quicker, but this one also has the expansion.
The first one.
This one also has the expansion tied to it as well.
Oh, so it's a separate disc?
It's a separate game.
Interesting.
But the way that they did expansions for Dynasty Warriors is that they had the content of the original game on the disc, but you had to have the original disc to be able to unlock it.
Interesting.
So it acted like an expansion. So pretty much, there's an option on the main menu that says unlock, pretty much unlock the original content, and then you would select it, and then you have to swap the disc and put it in, and it would unlock it. Then go back and be like, okay, you can now play it.
Okay, I was wondering how the technology behind that worked. Was it based on save data? No, you actually had to swap the disc.
But I can do a lot of the content with just this disc, so I don't have to do that every time I start up the game, which is kind of annoying.
So it doesn't just unlock it
for the save
permanently.
File. Yeah.
You have to do it every time if you shut it off. That's annoying.
So while I'm leveling up while I'm getting every character to a point where I can play them on the hardest difficulty, and also the way this game works is that unlike other games where you pick up items or pick up weapons, you have to just level up the weapon that each character has. So when you get them to level 9, it no longer levels up, and then you have to go do the similar thing you would do to get the best weapon in previous game, but you just do a certain mission and do certain conditions in that mission, and it would level it up to 10.
Okay, gotcha.
And then Extreme Legends adds level 11 by adding a new set of missions for each one. Extreme Legends, they have 2 modes in this. There's extreme. The extreme mode is the they add as actually no wait, legend mode is the one where they add a new stage for every character, and there is a ranking system in this game for that. I have to get the highest ranking on expert difficulty for each character, but that's just one level, so it's not like I have to play through like 7 levels for each character on the hardest difficulty like I did for 3.
Okay.
And also unlocking the level 11 is doing a certain condition on their legend mission.
Gotcha.
And then they have an extreme mode, which is kind of like a roguelike type.
And so between this game and the expansion on retro achievement, it's still one achievement set, right?
Yes, and it has 300 achievements.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Jeez.
Well, you got there's 42 characters in this game.
Wow.
So 42 characters just for getting to level 10, that's 42 achievements. And then getting to level 11, that's another 42 achievements. So 84 is just getting their the weapon to max level. And then there's also achievements for completing each of the story modes. There's achievements for beating certain levels on expert difficulty, but you can do it with any character you want. But you just can't use an interim save like you can for every other achievement. And like I said, there's also an achievement for beating each legend mode with that character and getting the highest rank on expert difficulty. And that's another 42 achievements right there. So that's already 126 right there.
Yeah.
126 of the achievement, over half of the achievements are literally just specific to the characters.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. When you got a lot of characters and you got an achievement for each one.
And there's achievements for like unlocking specific missions that you have to do specific things in the story mode. Like there's for every faction there, main 3 factions you have the you have to fight the Yellow Turban to the very beginning, and there's always 3 missions that you can choose from for that. Well, there's also an in between chapter missions. One of them is unlocked one of them is unlocked by skipping the first 2 missions and going to the 3rd mission first, but only after you've beaten the story mode for that faction.
Okay.
So whenever you go through again, you just beat the last portion of that chapter by itself. Because what they did was they made it so that whenever you beat the first 2 missions, it causes changes to happen in the 3rd mission. Like you get reinforcements or enemy reinforcements don't come in. So stuff like that, which is kind of fun for that era that they did that. But beating certain missions in certain ways and skipping missions is how you unlock the extra chapters.
Okay.
And what's crazy is that they did it in a way that
what's up, Porkin? Good to see you, buddy.
And they also did it at chapter 5 and chapter 6 for the main 3 factions, where we're always like the last few missions. We're like you defeating one of the other factions, but whichever faction you fight second, there's an extra mission afterwards.
Okay.
So, and the way it shows which side you fought first was how the fire attack succeeded at Battle of Chirpy, which is actually one of the big turning points in the entire war.
Okay.
Because that's the one that prevented Cao Cao from coming down south and conquering all of China. Because
I'll take your word for it. I don't know anything about that.
It is considered one of the worst military blunders in all of history.
Oh.
It's up there with 300. The battle at 300 is based on.
Yeah, Battle of Thermopylae.
Yeah. Because I was like 300 against an entire full-blown army.
Yeah.
But Chirpy had a lot more variables. It wasn't just like, 300 guys were defending a narrow passageway that one army decided and wanted to go through.
Yeah.
But with Chirpy, it was because the Cao Cao's forces were on ships and they were not designed. They were not seamen, so some of them were getting seasick. So he used chains to keep the boats together, but they wouldn't be as maneuverable, but they would be able to stay more steady. And then also they weren't used to the southern weather, so they were also getting sick.
That makes sense. Okay.
So it was just a full blown military blunder. And if he had won, though, it probably would have ended the entire. It would have probably ended the entire thing, and Southside would have been the warlord to conquer the entirety of China. But because of that, he had to regroup so badly that one side was able to completely gain full control of what they were doing and fortify their defenses, and then the other and then the third one was able to finally get a foothold that actually gave him a full section as well.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to go and look into that historic wise.
That's why I suggest Dynasty Warriors 8 as the game to go play, because Dynasty Warriors 8 actually does the story mode better. Because
Okay.
actually there is a section of that story mode that actually sticks to the original story. But then they also have what ifs whenever you change stuff that happened.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, what if stuff is always fun.
it is always fun.
Forking around is saying not to brag, but I got all the Helldivers achievements. I'm assuming you mean Helldivers 2
Yeah.
and not the original, but that is awesome. I plan to get them at some point. But I've only been doing Helldivers with other people. I haven't been playing it solo at all.
Not a big fan of on multiplayer only games, as more or less nowadays.
Yeah, I don't like,
especially when it comes to achievements.
I don't like versus stuff, but I love co-op games, so I'm having a lot of fun with Helldivers because it's.
I think the only game that I actually
co-op.
try to do that with nowadays is Warframe.
Yeah,
that's because I've been playing it for so long. So
yeah, you've been playing it for so long, but that's awesome. Forking around, good job, man. Okay. So yeah, and for me, as you know, as I said, I'm going to be working on the DLCs for Immortals: Phoenix Rising. I did complete the first DLC a couple nights ago, and I just started the second DLC day before yesterday, but I haven't gotten any achievements in it yet. But I'm liking. Oh, yes, you know what? I'll talk about it a little bit. Speaking of Dynasty Warriors. So if you don't know anything about Immortals: Phoenix Rising, you play the entire game is narrated by Prometheus, who's retelling the story of what happened to Zeus, and you play the main character that Prometheus is telling the story about. And in your adventures across this island you stumble across because you get shipwrecked there, you're helping break the curse on. There's four main Greek gods that you're helping, that because you need their help in order to fight the boss at the end of the game, and that's Aphrodite, Athena, Ares, and Hephaestus.
So no Poseidon or Hades?
They get mentioned, but they're not in the game as characters. But
I would have expected them first.
Yeah, but it's all Greek mythology.
Or Hera.
Yeah, all the Greek gods do get mentioned here and there, but
Persephone,
yeah, gets mentioned, but all those other ones like you're mentioning are only mentions. You don't ever see them. Other than the ones that I mentioned, those ones are actually characters in the game. But it's all Greek mythology, which I'm a huge fan of. I love Greek mythology.
I just want Persephone to go to one of the more obscure ones.
Yeah, pretty much all the Greek characters from Greek mythology I've ever even heard of get mentioned. Some of them I'm more familiar with than others, but yeah, they're pretty much all in there. Maybe a mention here or there. Some get mentioned multiple times. But yeah, it's all Greek mythology. And the first DLC picks up basically right where the base game ends, where you're trying to prove yourself to the gods that you've rescued to secure your place in the pantheon of gods, to be revered by people in the future. But the second DLC is, I think it's called Gods of the Eastern Realm, and it basically is a scaled down version of the base game. And basically all the mechanics are exactly the same, but it's got this whole new coat of paint, and it's all Chinese mythology. So there's like dragons and stuff, and you've got.
Is it Chinese or Japanese?
No, it's Chinese.
Just making sure, because some people try to mix them up.
Yeah, no, I know the difference between Chinese and Japanese.
So we ain't got no Raiden, no Fujin.
Yeah. So I was actually just playing it before the stream for a little bit. So I've got probably about an hour-ish into it. So it's like a lot of the same puzzle types are in there. They reuse a lot of the same enemy types, but they just look different to fit a Chinese mythology. So yeah. To kind of tie it into Dynasty Warriors, it's all Chinese mythology rather than Greek mythology.
Hey,
So.
some of the Warriors Orochi games actually had some of the mystical characters from China and Japan, so
Okay, cool. And then the third
there's probably
DLC,
some crossover there.
there could be. I haven't played a whole lot of it yet, but you're playing as a new character. You're not playing as the same character, but basically all the mechanics are still the same. And the third DLC, I don't know anything about yet, other than the camera perspective changes more to a isometric or top down. But that's about all I know about the third DLC so far. So I will be getting into
That one's based on Egyptian gods, isn't it?
No. So the last DLC, I think you're back to playing as the same character you've been playing in the base game. That was the thought, was that they were going to either go into other mythologies for more DLC or in the sequel, but it all got scrapped. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a sequel to Immortals, and there's not going to be any more DLC.
Didn't sell enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't sell enough, which is a bummer because it's fun. And I was talking about it at length last night on open mic that I'll give props to Ubisoft that typically, a lot of these big companies stick to what they know sells, but they stepped outside their bubble and they made Immortals. I'll give them props for that, even though it didn't sell really well. I've had a lot of fun with it, and then more recently, the latest Prince of Persia game is definitely outside their wheelhouse, and they went and did that, and I think it sold decently, but not like gangbusters. I'm very much looking forward to play that. Everyone I've talked to,
from what I've heard, it's
said
Metroidvania. It's a 2D Metroidvania, so it doesn't. It wasn't going to be. It's not going. It shouldn't have been as expensive to bank.
That too. So I will give them props for being a little bit, taking a little bit more risk than a lot of these big companies usually make.
Who knows? Maybe it'll convince them to make smaller games every now and then.
Exactly. Well, I will give EA a shout out too, because they did Immortals, the other Immortals of Avium, which unfortunately bombed. But the only one I've talked to that has played it was Extra Zero, and he could not say enough good stuff about it. He loved it. I own it, so I'll be playing it at some point. I bought it when it was on sale, like 90% off. I got it for like $8. But it did not do well. But I think it was just because they did no marketing about it. But it looked awesome.
So Titanfall 2'd it.
Exactly. The Titanfall 2'd it. It looked awesome. It looks like Doom, but with magic instead of guns. It looks cool. Extra Zero says it's a fun game, so I'm looking forward to playing that. So that's something that they went and made a risk, and unfortunately it didn't pay off, and they lost a ton of money on it. But I would love to see more stuff like that, some of these originals, rather than just endless sequels to things that have been around for decades.
And then they don't do sequels to the games that people are asking them to make sequels to.
That too. So yeah, I will have I should, because both all three of the DLCs for Immortals have about a 10-ish hour completion estimate. So I should definitely be able to finish off the second and third DLCs in April, and I'll be able to report back on those next month. And then another thing this is just one of those things that is constantly in the background that I'm working on that I have not played. I was looking at it, and both of these, it's been like 2.5 years since I had any achievements in it. I had completely forgotten about them, but I just remembered them yesterday, and I re-downloaded them because I didn't even have them on this phone. I've had this phone for probably 2 years, and I just never re-downloaded it when I got this phone. And they have Xbox achievements, and that is the Microsoft Wordament, where you have basically a 4x4 grid of letters. You can just make words out of them.
I wish the Windows phones actually stuck around longer.
Yeah, it has a Windows Phone version as well, but the iOS version is available. And I picked that back up, and I played a little bit of that one. And the other one that I've been playing a lot more of is the Microsoft Sudoku. I was level 35 yesterday, and I'm now like level 89. So when you play on the hardest difficulty, you can get you can go up like 2 levels a game. So it's you can level up very quickly, but there is an achievement for getting to level 250, which is one of the highest ratio achievements, just because not many people have stuck with it. But it's one of those games where I'll pick it up and play it on my phone for a few minutes here and there, and eventually I'll probably get to completion. But it's so now that I remember that it exists, I'll be playing those a little bit more now over the for however long it takes me to complete them. So that's not something I'm going to be completing anytime soon, especially since there is one achievement. So there's a daily challenge mode in all of these Microsoft phone games. And there's usually an achievement for getting 12 bronze medals, which takes 12 months because you can only get one a month.
Oof.
So it's basically a year-long commitment. And then there's usually an achievement for getting 8 silver medals, which takes 8 months. Doesn't have to be consecutive. And then there's usually like 3 or 4 gold medals and then 1 for a platinum. So you only have to do that once, but it takes a while to do that because in order to do that, you have to each day there's 3 challenges and they vary in difficulty. And the higher the and you don't get to choose what difficulty they are each day. It's just assigned by Microsoft or whoever runs the game.
Or a random number generator.
Or a random number generator, but it's all decided by them. It's not like you can be, I'm going to play this challenge on hard to get the most credit towards it. It's whatever the difficulty is. And for each one you complete, you get progress towards the goal. And so you have to get so many points in a month to get that bronze medal. And then, or if you play enough, you can get like the silver or the gold or the platinum. So for like the bronze one, you have to get enough points to reach because it's cumulative over the entire month. And the challenges change every day. So you have to hit that bronze level by playing it pretty much every day. Not every day. I just don't know about how much you have to play to get to the bronze level. You have to get like 450 points. I played the one challenge yesterday and today, and I think I've got like 40 points. So I'm not going to be going for that one right now. That I'll work on that sometime down the line because I already missed the first few days of the month. But
still work on that bronze since it takes 12.
Yeah, but you have to get to that bronze 12 months to get that achievement. And then in order to get the silver, you have to go past bronze and keep getting more points to get to silver. And, I think it's 8 silver medals. And then I forget how much gold is. But I know that platinum, you have to get that at least once. So for platinum, you basically have to I think you have to complete every challenge for like all 3 challenges every day for an entire month to get to that platinum.
That makes sense.
So funny enough, the one that requires the most play is actually the lowest ratio because you only have to do that 1 month. All the other ones take a lot of months to do it.
Yeah.
But that's basically,
and we all know gamers have such short attention spans.
Yeah. And so Microsoft has a bunch of games that are like on the phone, and they all work like that when it comes to getting the bronze, silver, gold, and platinum achievement for the challenges. So there's a couple that I haven't played yet, like the solitaire one I haven't played yet, and there's one for the also along the line of China, but that I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but Mojang or Mojang. Mahjong, that like kind of like their stacking dominoes game. I don't know how that game works, but there's a mobile game for that one as well. So I'll probably play that eventually.
If it's a single player one, it's the one where you have to match 2 tiles and then you take away those 2 tiles and they have to be on the edges.
Okay. But yeah, it's Mojang or whatever. They've got one for that as well. But yeah, so I plan to get those completions eventually, but it's not anytime soon.
Especially with those bronze being, you need 12.
Yeah, it's basically a year-long commitment. From what I heard, you can go offline and edit your system clock on your phone, but you basically have to go offline and then you can complete the challenges and then switch to the next day and then complete those challenges. But you have to basically do that all in one go because as soon as you go back online, you're going to lose your progress because it's going to reconnect to the internet and be like, oh, that's not the right time. So you basically cheese it, but you have to do like all of it all in one go. So I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to do it as I go. But yeah,
the only one to do that for is probably the platinum.
Right. But yeah, so I'm going to be picking back up the Sudoku and Wordament and play those here and there. And so I've got
sounds like that one game that asks you to play the game like a year or a couple of years after you first played it.
Oh, Stanley Parable.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I thought that was what it was.
There's Stanley Parable, the original release, I want to say has an achievement for playing the game for the first time after not playing it for like 5 years. All right, whatever I think your AC It
Yeah,
I
that happened again.
it was pretty loud right there, but it went back down and it's basically
It's
quiet
only whenever
now.
it first starts.
Yeah, it's weird how it goes up and then it goes down like almost immediately.
Yeah,
Um,
I think maybe the auto noise cancellation is
oh,
picks it up, and then
that would make sense.
it's
Um,
just weird that this is the first stream that's happened that it actually gets caught up on.
yeah. But the Stanley Parable Deluxe, which I have, but I haven't started it yet, has an achievement for not playing the game for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they know that most people are going to cheese that by going in and changing the system clock time in order to unlock the achievement. So they prepared for it, and you get scolded for it for doing that. I have Stanley Parable Deluxe. I haven't played it yet, but I am planning on doing that achievement legit. So I'm going to play it, get all the other achievements, and then I'm not going to play it again, and I'm going to set a reminder for 10 years to go back and get that last achievement.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to playing that game because that game seems like it's going to,
As long
it's
as
got
only
a lot of
one or two does
comedy
that
to it.
as like a joke, it's not too bad. But if too many games start doing that, that's a pain in the butt.
It plays into how Stanley Parable plays because it's very tongue-in-cheek humor where you're trying to do everything wrong to hear what the narrator says because the narrator's telling you what to do and you go and do it and then he says something funny and so you're just trying to figure out everything wrong you can do to hear everything they say. So it's very self-aware humor. So what else do you plan on working on for April?
I think that's about it. Was Devil May Cry 5, DKC 3, and then Dynasty Warriors 4, because all Dynasty Warriors games are going to take forever.
Yeah. Okay. Because I got a few more to go through, so I'll kind of burn through them. Another one that I've played, and it's basically a visual novel. It's called Knee Deep, and I got it because it had a short completion time. It was on sale for like $1 like years ago.
Yeah, most visual novels are quick to finish.
And I wouldn't have picked it up now, given that stuff that I used to just, if it was cheap and had a short completion, I would pick it up. Now it's more like if it's a quick, I don't really care if it's a quick completion unless it's on Game Pass or it's something I'm actually interested in. But you're basically playing through. It's almost like one of those pop-up books. And so it's a story of like a journalist like trying to get to the bottom of some mystery in this small podunk town. And it's got Act 1, 2, and 3. So I've got about half the achievements. I just need to go back but in order to get all the achievements, you have to make certain dialogue choices because that's all the game is making dialogue choices.
So it's not like Telltale games where you just have to complete it.
It's even less gameplay than the Telltale games because sometimes those Telltale games you actually have to walk around and look for something
or press a button.
Yeah, or do like a QTE. This one is basically just the story plays out and you either hit A, B, X, or Y to make a certain dialogue choice, and that's it. And then you watch the story play out. So I'm planning on wrapping that up. I'm pretty sure. No, I think I've missed a few of them. So after I finish it, I'll have to go back and replay some of the chapters in order to get all those correct dialogue choices I missed. But it's got like an 8 to 10 hour completion time, so it's not terribly long. I wouldn't recommend it. It's kind of boring, but I do want to wrap it. It's short, and I want to get the completion in it, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, if people like those type of games, it's probably more fun for them.
Yeah, I don't have anything against visual novels. I've played a decent number of them. Some of them are pretty good. This one I found pretty boring.
I'm pretty sure I got quite a few on my Vita since I have a very large Vita library.
So yeah, I'm gonna plan on going back and wrapping that up. And he came in here almost 10 minutes ago already. But what's up, Cult of Carl? He hopped in open mic for a little bit last night in chat. So good to see you, buddy. Good evening.
Kind of came in at the end though.
Yeah. Because we're just about to wrap up. But some more interesting games that I am planning on. I doubt I'm going to get through all of these in April, but I didn't, I think I mentioned it, but I run a Metroidvania contest for my AH101 community because that's my genre, and I haven't really played any Metroidvanias this year, so And like I said, I'm trying to not start any games unless they're ones I want to play and are leaving Game Pass, because I'm trying to recover my completion percentage. So I've only got 4 left that I've started that I haven't completed, and so I'm going to try and wrap as many of those up as possible. One of them is, as I was referring to earlier, is Axiom Verge, which I played through not last summer, but the summer before, and I beat the game. There was one missable achievement that I missed, just because there's a certain like cutscene about halfway through the game where you basically when you're playing through it, you would shoot this enemy, but in order to get the achievement, you're supposed to not shoot the enemy and wait till something happens and then you shoot him in order to get the achievement. But if you don't know about the achievement, you're probably not going to do it. As soon as they show up, you're going to start shooting them. So that's an easy one to get. But the rest of the achievements I'm missing, there's a one for a speed run. You have to beat the game in, I think it's under 4 hours. And the timer does
How
not.
lenient is that?
So I went and looked up. I haven't watched a full speed run of it, but I've looked up. I looked for YouTube for speed runs of it, and a lot of them are an hour to an hour and a half. So it seems very lenient. But the timer does not stop for anything. Even if you go back into the main menu, the timer still keeps going. So if you want to stop the timer, you have to literally quit the game. So that's why I haven't tried it yet. So because there's also an achievement.
At least most of the achievements that on retro achievements that have that are speed runs, they use the in-game timer. So usually they pause.
Yeah, that's a common thing with Metroidvanias is speedrun achievements for beating the game in under X amount of time. Every single one I've ever played, except for this one, when you go into the map, it pauses the timer so you can at least plan out where you need to go, or watch a speedrunner play it so you know where you're supposed to go in order to skip as much as possible. But nope, this one timer still keeps going, so which is why I haven't done the speedrun yet. But it is pretty lenient, so I don't think it'll be too terrible. There's also an achievement for beating it without dying, and there's an achievement for beating it in the.
See, not retro achievements isn't the only ones that does that.
Yeah, no, that's also a often achievement trope in Metroidvanias is beating it without dying. There's also an actual specific speedrun mode for the game that you have to beat it in, but there's no time limit to that one. Doesn't matter how long you take, as long as you beat it in that mode, you'll get the achievement. But it's just easier to stack it so you can get all 3 of those achievements in one run rather than spreading them out across 3. Yeah. And what's nice about that speedrun mode is it basically disables all the dialogue, and it's just playing the game. So I basically have to do all of those achievements for. And I think there's one achievement for beating it with collecting only a minimum number of items, so you have to skip a lot of the stuff. But you can basically stack all of those achievements in one run if you can do it right. So
I think the GBA games on retro achievements for Metroid actually has minimalist runs.
Yeah,
achievements.
That's also often a common achievement thing in Metroidvanias is beating it with. Instead of, there's almost always a collect 100% achievement, but a lot of them also have a beat the game with only like 10% of items and you have to, get the couple of items that are the most beneficial to you.
Or the most the only ones that are ones that are only mandatory.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to planning on wrapping up Axiom Verge. If I can get it right, I can get all of my missing achievements in one playthrough, and that's pretty short. It's just that the timer doesn't pause, so I'll have to kind of study the speed run to know where I need to go.
Yeah.
Not a Metroidvania, but is tangentially related to Metroidvania is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon, which I also mentioned last night on Open Mic.
That would just require you to beat the game so many times.
Yes, so that is the action platformer version of Bloodstained, which
is the original Castlevania.
It's exactly like the original Castlevania. I had started it, I dived it where I got the achievement for just beating the first level probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I hadn't touched it since until December in the 12 Days of Christmas event. I think a lot of the achievements in that game are. I want to say that the 12 Days of Christmas thing was get X amount of achievements that have the story progression flag, and basically you get an achievement for beating each of the like 10 levels or whatever in the game. And so I just used all of those achievements to satisfy that requirement for that day of 12 Days of Christmas. So I was only planning on doing like 2 levels, but I ended up playing through and beating the whole game because it's pretty short. And DJ Access, who's a big fan of the game, he's completed 100%. He hopped into because I was in Discord chat at the time, so he hopped in and he's well versed in the game. So
I've done it twice.
Okay,
I've done it on Xbox and PlayStation.
Oh, so you're quite familiar with the game as well. But he hopped in the Discord and he was helping coach me through it. And so I ended up beating the game, but you have to beat the game like 3 or 4 different times to get all the achievements, because you have to do in one run, you have to do it with this character, and you have to like collect all the side characters. And in this run, you have to do it with this character, and you have to not get any of the other side characters, or
and this one you have to kill all the side characters.
And you have to sacrifice them all at the end. So you have to do a number of different runs through it. So I've done one run through it so far back in December. But I've got
the hardest one is ignoring everybody.
Yeah, so I've got a
you don't get any of their, you don't get any special abilities, and you don't get the new characters.
Right. So I've got a few playthroughs that I still got to go through, but it's a relatively short game. So I'm hoping to wrap that up. I think the total estimated completion time is only like 15 hours, and I've already beaten it once. So I've got
I think it only took me about 10.
Door. So I could be overestimating. It's not long, but I've got a few playthroughs to go.
Because you can eventually you can actually get so good at that game, you start beating it in like an hour.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I should be able to wrap that up in April. And then going back to the Metroidvanias is one that I was also playing for 12 Days of Christmas, and I haven't really enjoyed much of it so far, but it's Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate, which is it was like a PSP/DS game.
It was a 3DS game.
3DS.
It wasn't it wasn't It wasn't on a PlayStation console until it got the HD port like it did on 360.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm playing the 360 version, which was on Xbox Live Arcade. And it's basically split out into 3 sections where you play as 3 different characters. I'm either almost at the end of the first character, or I finished up the first character when I was playing it for 12 Days of Christmas. So I've got a foot in the door in that game as well. So I'm going to try and finish that one off as well.
It's kind of sad that you aren't liking it as much.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just, it's not great. I mean, it was made for handheld and not console, so it's understandable on why it's a lower quality. But that's Metroidvania, so I'm going to try to wrap that up as well.
Hey, those guys did make Metroid Dread and the Samus Returns, so
that's the same team.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, because those I haven't played Dread yet, but I
remember people saying it was actually a good Metroidvania. I guess when you remember it's a 3DS game originally.
Oh, I've not heard anyone talk about Mirror of Fate up until recently, because a number of people in my Metroidvania community have been playing it lately and they've been talking about it. But so I don't know what the general consensus on the game.
I thought the general consensus was it was all right.
That sounds about right. I'd put it very middle of the road. But the fact that they went and made Metroid Dread and what was the other one that you mentioned? Samus Returns. They went and made something as high quality as those is like, wow, they really stepped up their game.
Yeah. Well, they took what they learned.
Yeah. So, and that's not a terribly long completion either. I think the estimation is like 15 to 20 hours, and I've already completed or almost completed the first third of the game. And it doesn't.
It's always funny when you think Metroidvanias, you think they'll beat them in less than 5 hours, and then the achievement lists are like that long.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to finish that up as well, and then I don't know which of these next 2 I'm going to play first, but I think I'm going to finally try to fully get through Hollow Knight, because I recently started top 5. First one was Metroidvanias. We already had a part 2 with a new set of panelists, and that's another reason why I want to play more of these Metroidvanias, is because I haven't really played any, and that's kind of given me the bug. Like I mentioned earlier, I played through Mummy Demastered just for the heck of it, because I like that one. After I finished Mummy Demastered, I also started up a new playthrough of Shadow Complex, which I already have all the achievements in. So I played a little bit of that. I'll probably play that here and there, because that's not terribly long either. So I'll kind of sprinkle that in, play a little bit here and there. I might finish that playthrough this month as well, but that's not high priority, so I don't know. But it's just everyone rants and raves about how good Hollow Knight is, and as I've often said, I played about 6 to 8 hours of it, and I have not enjoyed it. But I am going to play through it and at least complete its story at some point. I'm going to give it another shot and see if I can make it through, and see if I can end up liking it in the long run. Because some people said that, yeah, it's a rough start, but it gets really good. So I know I haven't hit that point yet, so we'll see if I do. And then the other thing that I guarantee you I'm not going to complete it. I'm not sure if I'll ever complete it, given that I was also playing it for 12 Days of Christmas, and it was really hard. But I'm going to try to get through, at least beat the game for the Crash Insane trilogy. So I want to try to beat the final boss of 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all of the achievements, because some of them are quite difficult.
Yeah, some of those gyms are a pain, and they add the AC came on.
Yeah. And so there are a lot of achievements in that game. So even if I don't get all of them, it'll still help get my completion percentage up to that point where I'm trying to make it to. I would like to complete it, and I just don't know if if I'm going to bother with the completion. But I'm going to try to beat the story. But I don't know if I doubt I'll be able to get through all of that in April. So that I might talk about that more for May. But that's the games that I have coming up that I'm going to try and work on.
Yeah, Crash Zone Trilogy is one of those games that you kind of just work at slowly.
Yeah.
Because of how much it has.
Because I don't know if it was the same night that I did Bloodstained during the 12 Days of Christmas.
I remember watching you, and you having a hard time.
You were there, and you were watching me.
And I was one of the people that told you to play Crash 2 for the achievements.
Yes. Because I was trying to do Crash 1, and you're like, no, dude, Crash 2 is a lot easier. So I switched over to Crash 2, and I got a bunch of achievements really quickly. So, yeah, the achievements in Crash 2 so far have been a lot easier than Crash 1, but I'm going to try and beat the final
Crash
boss.
2 is some of those gems that's the pain in the ass.
Okay. So yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at the achievements, so I don't even know what all of the requirements are. I don't think you have to get 100% of everything to beat all of the games, but I do know you have to do a lot of that extra stuff that is very difficult. So I don't know like I said, I don't know if we get the 100% completion at any point, but I do plan to at least beat the final boss of all 3 of the Crash games.
If you do that 100% completion, though, you'll be considered a legend. Similarly, if you did the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, that one I guarantee you I will never do Master Chief Collection. And I remember when Crash 4, It's About Time came out, I was like, oh, maybe I'll play that. And I looked at the achievements, and that game is even harder. So I'm never going to play Crash 4. That one is brutally insane with the requirements for getting 100%.
Yeah, I watched the Cadicris video on it.
So, but yeah, that wraps it up for what I'm going to attempt to finish up in April. I doubt I'll get through half of that, but that's what's coming up for me.
Even though I love Metroidvanias, the main reason why I haven't asked to be put on the top 5 is because I would just say Metroids or Castlevanias. I haven't really played that many outside of those 2 franchises.
Yeah, that's why when I did it, I was like, I'm going to limit myself to one Metroid game, so it's not just a list of my favorite Metroid games.
I like to do that. I like to do that too, but because I've only really played those 2 franchises for Metroidvanias, it would make my list kind of boring. That's kind of why I asked not to be on that. Haven't asked to be on that top 5 yet. Maybe one of these days.
Yeah,
I have to play more though.
If we get a number of other people that want to come on and rank their,
I did get another one under my belt, and it was actually kind of fun. So,
okay. Yeah, maybe we'll do a Metroidvania Part 3. So, but the next, as I said earlier, the next top 5 that's scheduled is for video game soundtracks. We don't have it scheduled, but eventually we are going to do a top 5 Zeldas Part 2, because we do already have a full panel. Well, actually, we might have another room for one more. I don't know, but we do have a few other people that want to rank their Zeldas. We just don't have that on the calendar yet. And but yeah, so. All right. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this episode of Achievement Chasers, which is actually a record for longest episode we've had so far, which I thought it was going to be another short one, but it ends up being the longest.
Well, I think it's because I had so many games to talk about.
But no worries. That's the whole idea. So, dude, I'm pretty sure I preloaded your links as usual into the stream.
Just so you know, I think I forgotten to send you the updated link for Rumble because I now have a custom URL.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you want to send that to me, I will update the
Yeah,
link.
I'll send
But
that to you after the stream.
okay, cool. I did
But
preload your old one, but I will update that with the new one. So if there's anyone watching this who isn't subbed to Dude on Rumble, go give him a sub on Rumble.
yeah, so tomorrow night I'll be trying again to get that mission 10. I did find out one of the fights is skippable, so I'll try that tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll get that S tomorrow before too long, so I don't have to keep on playing it over and over again. But after that, on Sunday, me and Paul will be continuing our Halo journey into Halo 2.
Ah, you bastards and your freaking par score achievements without even trying.
Well, it's because I'm just that good at it.
Yeah, I know. I was actually talking
I mean,
with.
you saw what happened on Halo, that one level in Halo 2 where he only had 10 kills, right?
I didn't watch any of the Halo 2.
Because we played one level of Halo 2 at the end of last time we played.
Oh yeah, I didn't catch any of that of your most recent stream. So
we didn't play last week because it was Easter, so it was the week before.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't catch any of that second one. But yeah. But speaking of Halo, I was talking on Discord with Angry Canadian just last night, and because he was talking about Master Chief Collection, I think he said that because there's 700 achievements in Master Chief Collection, and he said I think he said that I only have about 20 more than he does, so he's very close to me in Master Chief Collection achievements. And he has a good chunk of the par score achievements already, where I don't have almost any of them, except for I think I have all of them in ODST except for the final level. But on all the rest of them, I only have like one or two. So I have to. So maybe I'll do a run through with him on some of them and get some of those par score achievements at some point.
Well, I think you're joining us for the Halo whenever we go to 4-player, aren't you?
I'm planning on it.
Because I think we're going to be continuing to do it at the same time period. So
okay, we'll see. I don't know if that'll how that'll work on my schedule, but we'll figure that out later. But yeah, for the 4-player ones, I'm hoping that we'll get a lot of those par scores just by burning through the game really quickly on 4-player. But on Halo 1 and 2, where there's only 2-player, makes it it does make it
gets a bit harder to get third and fourth people in.
Yeah, having 2 people makes getting those par score achievements easier, but it's still harder than with 4 people, or worse with one person. But eventually,
I got all of them as a solo player. So
I did all the par scores in Halo 3 and Halo 4 on the 360 versions of those games solo, but I just don't want to do that again. So, and it's more fun playing with a friend. So. I'll get those par scores in the Master Chief Collection at some point. So maybe I'll do it with Angry Canadian at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, you might get a couple of them when you're playing with us if you actually do get in.
Yeah. So, anything else that you want to plug?
That's about it, because that's just what's happening in the next 48 hours. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, for me, for anyone who's still here watching, we have the next episode of Party Chat tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Pacific. I haven't heard from Mark or Ryan if they're going to be able to make it. Hopefully they will. But my guest host is someone who I met via Cult of Carl because he had him on his RNG podcast a while back. And that is JT Pixel. He's going to be my guest host on Party Chat tomorrow. So looking forward to another great episode of Party Chat. And then I might do some game streaming tomorrow afternoon or evening. We shall see. I was planning on doing it 2 weeks ago after the last episode of Party Chat because I've been wanting to do my own version of Steam Roulette, inspired by James and his Steam Roulette. But for me, it was originally going to be Xbox Roulette, but I think I mentioned it earlier, but I'm spanning it out to Xbox, my Steam library, and retro achievements. So I'm just going to be calling it Gaming Roulette because it's not just Xbox Roulette. But I've been wanting to do that for a while and hopefully maybe raise a little bit of money because I was going to put it towards buying Helldivers, but someone was gracious enough to gift Helldivers to me. So that's why I've been playing Helldivers over the last few weeks, and that's been a lot of fun. But I want to do some roulette stream. Even if I don't make any money, it's still gonna be fun. But hopefully, when I do roulette streams, whatever money I get is gonna go towards building like my Steam library. So I'm very much looking forward to playing at some point. It's not out yet, but I'm probably not going to be playing it at launch. But I'm very much looking forward to playing Ghost of Tsushima since it's finally coming to Steam in May. So now that someone was kind enough to gift me Helldivers, any roulette streaming I do and any tips that I get are going to be going towards the purchase of Ghost of Tsushima. So I may do that tomorrow night, or I may just end up playing Helldivers. Who knows? So that is what I got coming up. So with that, that'll wrap episode 6 of Achievement Chasers. And we will see you next month to let you know how we did, what we accomplished, what we fell short on, and what we're planning on for May. So, all right.
No, we'll be doing April because this is the start of April.
Yeah, next month. We'll be talking about what we accomplished in April and what we didn't and what we're planning on working on in May.
For some reason, that didn't register. That part didn't register.
I was thinking about it for a second. I was like, wait, am I saying that right? Yes, that is what I meant. So, but yeah, that'll do it. Thanks to everyone who came and hung out with us in chat. You guys were awesome. You guys all have an excellent Friday night, and we will talk to you later. And in the meantime, game on.